My surname is Malombo. I'm the registrations manager at SACSSP. Welcome to the session. However, we've got an announcement to make and a plea, a humble request to you to say, can we wait until 5 past to 10 past 9 so that we can wait for other colleagues because we're busy allowing for colleagues to join. So as and when the session has started, we will try and control it in another way. But for now, let us just wait, give them time to join in so that then we can start with the session while everybody is okay and have settled. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, SSPs. Good morning. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you, colleagues, that you can hear me. I was starting
Good
to worry
morning.
now.
Morning.
Thank you.
The mics were disabled. That's why we couldn't respond.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Colleagues, we are starting with the session for today. I would like to welcome everybody that's able to join for the session of Gauteng. Let us, colleagues, with that, let us acknowledge everyone who has been able to honor the invitation. Let us extend our greetings to the most distinguished guest of the session, the SSPs themselves, the social service practitioners. Let us acknowledge members of the council that have attended, that have managed to join the session. Let's further acknowledge employers of SSPs within their various entities. Let us further extend the greetings to associations of SSPs and also to trade union representatives that are able to join or that would be joining us as well for today's session. Gauteng, we are starting the session for today on regulation on fees payable by social service professionals. By so saying, I am welcoming everyone and also to submit to you this humble request that can we please remain muted. The time for us to unmute our mics will come as per the program. And for now, if we can remain muted, we are going to have a flowing session. That is a humble request from me to you. With that said, you are welcome, SSPs. You are welcome, everybody that I've acknowledged. Hoping I did not miss anyone that was able. But if I did, my apologies in advance. Colleagues, you are welcome to this session. With that, Ms. Mbuzo, can you then confirm our attendance for today?
Good morning, Program Director. As you've mentioned, I don't want to repeat what you've just acknowledged. The members of the board who are in present, the SSPs from the Gauteng province, management of SACSSP, and colleagues. I just want to request the attendees to kindly write their full names and their surnames together with their registration numbers and email addresses on the chat, so that after this series of webinars, the office will be able to do the certificates and send to attendees. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, Ms. Mbuzo. Colleagues, I think it has been clearly outlined that can you please submit on the chart your particulars so that after the completion of the webinars, a certificate of attendance can be forwarded to yourself. So colleagues, with that said, I will have to give to the acting registrar to indicate or clearly tabulate to us the reasons why we have assembled today as Gauteng, the reason of us giving ourselves some time to come and join here. So acting registrar will give us that presentation to explain why are we here. Thank you. Over to you, acting registrar.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hitler Sikitla. I'm a social worker. You are welcome to our webinars for Gauteng. We did the province of Eastern Cape on Monday. Yesterday we were in the in the Free State province. So today we are doing Gauteng, and we'll be doing the other remaining provinces from tomorrow until the 29th. Now, the purpose of this webinars is to educate the sector on the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals, which were published by the Minister of Social Development on the 2nd of June, 2023. Now, these regulations provide for the prescribed fees which are payable by social service professionals. They also make provision for the new date of payment of annual fee. And also part of these webinars is to educate or engage with the sector on the implications or consequences for failure to pay prescribed fees by social service professionals. We'll also talk to the methods of payments that social service professionals and employers of social service professionals may use when they want to pay the prescribed fees. And lastly, we will also talk to the issues which are affecting you. Also want to afford you an opportunity as our key stakeholders, being social service professionals, the employers, colleagues from the institutions of higher learning, and also comrades from the trade unions which are organizing in the social service sector, an opportunity to also raise your issues as far as the services by the SACSSP is concerned, so that we can see which areas we need to improve. So when we get to that particular point, we will not limit the questions and answer sessions only to the presentation. So everyone should feel free to make comments, input, and clarity-seeking questions in terms of all the areas of service or core mandate of the SACSSP. So once more, you are welcome to the SACSSP Gauteng province webinar. Thanks, Program Director.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Acting Registrar. Oh, my apology. Thanking Acting Registrar. Colleagues, we now know why we are gathered today. From the presentation by the Acting Registrar, it is clear that we are gathered here to take the sector forward through the services that we render as SACSP, and to be appraised with our responsibilities, both the SSPs and the employers of the SSPs. With that, we are moving with the agenda, the program for today. We are on item of introduction of the presenter for the sessions for today. So colleagues, allow me to bring back the acting registrar on the platform to present on the regulation of fees payable by social service professionals, the role of the SSPs and employers of SSPs. So let us pay attention to the presentation that is coming so that then we can be fully appraised. Thank you, and over to you, Acting Registrar.
Thank you, Program Director. Just flight the presentation just to indicate that I'll be co-presenting with the Deputy Chairperson of the 5th Professional Board for Social Work, Ms. Morake. So I'll do part 1 of the presentation, Then the deputy chairperson will cover part 2 of the presentation. Now, the part 1 of the presentation covers the context or background information in relation to the SACSSP and the actual regulations relating to fees payable by SSPs. Now, there are companies who, once they've registered with council or others registered with council, but they do not understand who is the SACSSP. So we deliberately put this large chairperson or program director so that we just give background information as to who is the SACSSP, in that we are a statutory body established in terms of Section 2 of the Social Service Professions Act. And this act is divided into 4 chapters. Chapter 1 deals with the establishment or provides for the establishment of the SACSSP and is contained in Section 1 to Section 14. Chapter 2 deals with the registrations of social service professionals and is provided for in Section 15 to Section 20. And just to emphasize on Section 15 is that this provision, it prohibits any person who is not registered with the SACSSP to register to regard him or herself as a social worker or practice as such. It also includes social auxiliary workers and also child and youth care workers. And Section 16 talks to the implication or the consequences which may follow against a person who regards or practices a profession within which a professional body is established and that person is not registered. Section 17 and 18 deals with the different categories of registrations, which is social work, social auxiliary work, and child and youth care work. And Section 19 talks to it makes provision for the council or the registrar to keep a register in terms of which a professional board is established. And Section 20 talks to the reasons or makes provisions for the reasons which council may use to remove the name of the person from the register. Now, Chapter 3 deals with the disciplinary powers of council to institute inquiries or disciplinary inquiries or investigations against social service professionals whose conduct is found wanting or there are allegations of unprofessional or improper conduct. And Section 22 provides for the penalties which council may impose in the event a respondent is found guilty in the disciplinary hearing, and the 4 possible penalties which may be imposed, it includes a warning or a reprimand, a suspension of a social service professional for a particular period from practicing the profession, and paragraph C talks to the cancellation of a person's registration as a result of the disciplinary inquiry. And also the 4th penalty which may be imposed is a fine to a maximum of 5,000. Now, Chapter 4 deals with the general provisions of the council in terms of what we can do, and Section 24 talks to the appointment of a legal assessor to assist council in terms of disciplinary inquiries, and Section 27 and Section 28 gives us council the powers to regulate the profession, and we will zoom into Section 27 and 28 at the later stage as far as the presentation is concerned. Now, this is the structure of the SACSSP as a statutory body. At the top, we have council. On the extreme left, we are having the 2 professional boards. And currently, we are in the process of establishing the 3rd professional board for community development practitioners. We also have governance structures, which is the Section 9 and Section 10 committees. And the Section 9 committee is the executive committee. Section 10 committees includes the registrations committee, the committee of preliminary inquiry. So the registrations committee oversees matters in relation to the registrations in terms of Section 17, 18, and 19. But it will also talk to Section 20 in relation to those whose names have been removed, and Section 20, subsection 3, in terms of those who wants to be restored. And it happens that their names have been removed from the register in terms of the various reasons as contained in Section 20, subsection 1. And on the extreme right, we're having the Office of the Registrar and Administration, and inclusive, we are called Secretariat. So the Secretariat of the SACSSP is responsible for running the day-to-day operations of the SACSSP. The professional boards and council, they provide oversight, they set standards, develop policies or approve policies, which as a result of the recommendation of the Secretariat, and throughout they oversee as to the implementation of the resolutions of their structures, the implementations of the policies, the rules and the regulations, and in particular, the Social Service Professions Act. These are some of the governance committees: finance, reg, human resource, registrations, is repeating itself there, transformation committee, communications, IT and business re-engineering, and ETD committee. So if you are a board member, or in future you become a board member or a council member, you will be serving on one of these committees, including if you are a council member, you will be serving at council and also on this committee. The same applies if you become a board member, you will be also be serving on this committees and other task teams that get to be established in between the term of office of the professional boards and also the term of office of council. Now, what is the mandate of the council, which is provided for in Section 3 of the Act? The 3 core mandate of council is the registration of SSPs, the holding of professional conduct, which is a mandate on its own. Professional conduct is a mandate on its own in terms of Section 21 to Section 20, Section 22. So this mandate, it involves the investigations of complaints of unprofessional conduct or improper conduct against SSPs, and conducting the disciplinary inquiries. And the third mandate is in relation to education, training, and development. And amongst others, it is our responsibility to set the minimum standards of or the minimum requirements for registrations as far as qualification is concerned, develop the standards of education and training, and also ensure that employers or skills development providers and also institutions of higher learning who are providing the qualification or training as far as the qualifications which have been approved by the council and the professional board, to ensure that those stakeholders, they comply with those particular, the minimum requirements in terms of ensuring that they impart knowledge as far as training is concerned. So those are the 3 core mandates of council. But you'll also see that if you go to Section 3, that it will also include make provision for the exercising or control and exercising authority with regard to all financial matters relating to the council and the professional boards. So council is responsible to ensure the management or the strategic objectives and the annual performance plans are in place, and that all the financial matters or the financial management of council are in order, and they provide direction in that regard. Now, to read more on the powers and functions of council, please refer to Section 4 of the Social Service Professions Act, and Section 5, subsection 5 of the Act makes provision for the term of office of council or council members. Currently, we are sitting on the 5th council, and their term of office started on the 19th of August last year. So it will run until their term, the 5th year comes, and during the 5th year, we will be going through the round of nomination and elections of new council members. The same applies to the current 5th Professional Board for Social Work. Their mandate started on the 17th of August 2022, last year. We will also be running the nominations and elections towards the 5th year of their term. The same applies to the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care Workers. Currently, they are sitting on the 4th Professional Board. So their mandate is also 5 years, and when it goes towards the end, we will be running the nominations and the elections. So I'm emphasizing this point, colleagues, because the previous terms during the nomination and election processes, the turnout was poor, if we were to put that way, where most of social service professionals do not participate in the nominations and the election processes. So we want to encourage you to say, when we get to that particular period, please participate in the nominations and the elections of the new members of council and the new members of the 2 professional boards. Now, the professional boards are established in terms of Section 14, capital letter A of the Act, and the objects in terms of what they envisage to achieve is provided for in Section 14, capital letter B, and it includes but not limited to control and exercise authority in respect of the training, as far as the professions within which they fall within their ambit. So they are also responsible for determining the minimum standards for education and training, as I spoke to earlier on, and also to maintain and enhance the dignity and integrity of the professions, and also guide the professions falling within its ambit to protect the public. So the guiding, it happens through the guidelines that we develop now and then, and it's also our responsibility, or the responsibility of the professional board, to protect members of the public who are the beneficiaries of social services. Now, to read more on the general powers of the professional boards, please refer to Section 14, capital letter C of the Social Service Professions Act. Why professional registrations? For those who are still wondering as to why a person needs to register with the SACSSP in order for him or her to be regarded as a social worker, a social auxiliary worker, or a child and youth care worker, which also includes students in those different categories. It is a legal requirement and a license for one to practice. So you need to register with us because it is a legal requirement. As I've indicated earlier on, spoke to Section 15, which prohibits any person who is not registered under the SSP Act to practice the professions in respect of which professional boards have been established. So it becomes a criminal offense because that person will be contravening Section 15. And in terms of Section 16, as I've indicated earlier on, council or the clients who received the services of a person or an unscrupulous social worker, if I were to put that way, we do have the right to open a criminal case against that person. There are various laws which empower or recognize social service professionals to execute certain statutory tasks. One of the examples of the various laws is the Children's Act. Go to the Correctional Service Act, it will define a social worker, for example, as a person who is registered with the South African Council for Social Service Professions. Again, when you go back to the Children's Act, it provides the definition of a social worker, and it also indicates the statutory functions which may be performed only by a social worker as far as the provision of services in relation to children who are in need of care and protection. In particular, to say only a social worker may remove a child in need of care and protection. So other professional categories are not allowed to, or any member of the community is not allowed to remove a child in need of care. Those services can only be provided by a registered social worker. By registering with the SACSSP, it's a proof that you meet the requirements as far as qualification is concerned and registration, and that you are competent to practice. We are using the registration or the registering of social service professionals to regulate these professions to ensure that we protect members of the public against unethical conduct. I always tell colleagues to say, when we do the code of ethics workshop, to say in the room that all of us will look innocent, but there will always be one or two persons who misbehave or conduct themselves in an unprofessional manner. And it is for these reasons that the legislator saw a need that when we establish a statutory body, there should be a need to regulate the conduct of social service professionals, and it also includes other professionals, including within the context of the nursing council, the pharmacy council, and all other sister statutory bodies. So the conduct of their professionals is also regulated. You may use, or you can use, your registration status with us to market yourself and use it for international recognition. By regulating this profession, it gives professional credibility and credence to our professions, and it's our understanding that when you are registered with us, you will be recognized and respected in multidisciplinary teams which you participate in as and when you perform your professional duties. Now, earlier on, I spoke to the relevant provisions of the Act, and I emphasized Section 28 and Section 27. So these are the sections which we use in the main to regulate the professions within which the professional boards are established. And Section 28 makes provision for the minister on the recommendation of council to make rules to make regulations on various areas. And one of the areas which is provided there in terms of paragraph A is to make regulations around the fees which shall be paid annually by social service professionals and the fees which shall be paid to the council in respect of. Before I go to the issue of the fees which shall be paid annually, it talks to the annual fees, which is the part of the presentation that we are going to focus on today. And other areas include the registration fee, the re-registration fee, and also the fee for registering additional qualification for those who want to register in a particular specialty area, and also for private practice. But just to indicate that currently private practice is not regulated, we are in the process to develop the regulations for social workers or for social service professionals in private practice. We can also make regulations in relation to the restoration of a qualification, a specialty, the practice, and the name of such an SSP in the event a person's name has been removed from the register. The other area where we can make regulations in relation to any application which shall or may be made under this Act, and also regulations as far as the registrations of certificate or copies, the issue of registration certificate or copies thereof. So we regulate that part in terms of the fees which may be paid. And the other part is in relation to the provision of extract from any register and any other act which shall or may be performed by the council or by the register. So it's any other area which council may deem fit to say it needs to be regulated, they will develop the regulations. We also have the regulations relating to allowances which are payable to members of council or committees in respect of carrying out their functions or their duties in their capacity. as council members and professional board. So when you are a council member and the member of the professional board and you are not working in a government department, you are entitled to some form of payment for attending meetings or for doing the work on behalf of council or the professional board. Now, Section 28 continues in terms of areas where we can we have the power to make regulations in working together with the Minister of Social Development. And one other area is in relation to setting the minimum requirements for education and training, the nature and content and the duration of the curricular and practical training, which shall be a requirement for the acquisition of a prescribed qualification. So that is why we determine the minimum qualification, colleagues. That is why we are saying from second year as a student social worker, you must be registered with us before you can start with the practicums, so that we can protect members of the public against that particular student in the event he or she happens to conduct him or herself in an unprofessional manner. Then paragraph D of section 28 makes provision for us to make regulations in relation to the conducting of inquiries into alleged unprofessional conduct. Those regulations are in place. We also have the regulations in relation to regarding the conducting of disciplinary inquiries. And further to that, it prescribes the manner in which such inquiry shall be instituted. So these regulations regarding the conducting of inquiries into alleged unprofessional conduct, they prescribe the process and the procedure that we must follow the minute we received a complaint of unprofessional conduct against a social service professional. So we don't do it on top of our head. We follow the regulations, and part of the regulation says the minute we receive a complaint, we must notify the respondent, which is a social service professional, and give that person an opportunity to respond, which is a period of 21 days. As soon as we receive your response or you fail to respond within 21 days, we refer the matter to the Committee of Preliminary Inquiry, which I spoke to earlier on, and which is the committee responsible for investigation. Should they find that there's prima facie evidence against a social service professional or a respondent, they may refer that matter for a disciplinary inquiry, and the disciplinary inquiry will make a determination as to whether the social worker or a child health care worker or a social auxiliary worker is, or a student social worker as well, or a student child health care worker is guilty in terms of the allegations. And if they found you guilty, they may impose one of the 4 penalties which I spoke to, which is provided for in section 22 subsection 1. Now, in the event a matter goes for a disciplinary inquiry, so the regulation provides that we must issue a notice in a prescribed form and what we call the summons, to serve you with the summons as a social service professionals to come before they appear before the disciplinary inquiry. Now, paragraph F, subparagraph 1 and 2, it gives us the powers to make regulations as far as the registrations and conduct of a private practice by a social worker and the professional practice of a social worker conducting private practice. I've indicated earlier on that the professional board are in the process, working together with council in the process of developing their regulations as far as private practice is concerned. The other section which we use to regulate these professions is section 27. And amongst others, this section 27 makes provision for us as council, after consultation with the professional board and approval by the minister, to make rules relating to the conduct of SSPs, which is the Code of Ethics for social workers and social auxiliary workers and student social workers. Then we also have a separate code of ethics for child and youth care workers. We also have the rules relating to acts or omissions of social service professionals which shall constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. And these are the rules if you speak the language of the employer-employee relationship. is like a disciplinary code. So these are the rules we use to prefer charges against social service professionals who are accused or alleged to have conducted themselves in an unprofessional or improper manner. Now, these rules also regard the conduct or the practice of employing a person who is not registered with the SACSSP to regard it as constituting unprofessional or improper conduct. So colleagues who are supervisors and managers, HODs and HORs, this talks to you to say in the event you are found to have allocated work or duties as far as the social work, child care work and social auxiliary work services are concerned, to a person who is not registered with council, you may be held accountable as far as your conduct is concerned in terms of Section 21 and Section 22 of the Social Service Professions Act. Now, we are done with terms of the background and the context, background information in relation to some information that we thought you should know, so that going forward you understand what is the mandate of council and what are the obligations that comes with being a registered person. Now we are going to zoom into the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals, as I've indicated earlier on when I was dealing with the purpose of this webinar. I indicated that the Minister of Social Development has published the regulations on relating to fees payable by SSPs on the 2nd of June 2023 in Government Notice number 3485, Government Gazette 48693. Now, amongst these regulations, the Regulation 1, which makes provision for the definitions of different concepts, it talks to the financial year. So it defines financial year as a year ending 31st March of every year. So this is the meaning of a financial year. So the issue of 31st of March only is limited to it as the end of a particular financial year. It has nothing to do with the payment of the annual fee. We will come to the issue of the payment of the annual fee at the later stage. The regulations also define what is a reference number, which means a unique identifier assigned to any financial transaction that will enable council to identify the person making a payment and allocate such payment against that person. So basically it says when you are making any financial transaction with council, you must use a reference number so that we'll be able to identify that transaction or payment and allocate it accordingly in terms of the registrant who paid the particular fee or the employer who paid on behalf of a particular registrant. Now, reference number for student registration is the number 60 plus the 5 digits of the person's ID number, and reference number for all other transactions. For example, registration fee or payment of annual fee, you use your registration number, colleagues, at all material times. The reference number for the payment of an annual fee, because this is the most area where we're experiencing difficulties, colleagues. We need to emphasize this point that please use your registration number. And for those who are graduating from being student social worker to social workers, or from social auxiliary work to social work, you must use the registration number that has already been allocated to you when you were still a student, so that will be able to transfer you or move you or promote you from student social worker to social work. So don't use any other number that we do not know, because we won't be able to allocate that money accordingly. Now, Regulation 2, paragraph A, talks to fees payable to the council by social workers and child and youth care workers. These are at professional level. So this is category A, in terms of the payment of fees which are due to council, or which are supposed to be paid to council. Now, it talks to the registration fee by applicants who obtain their qualifications and training in the Republic of South Africa. The amount there is 262. Additional levy for speed service in the event you need service to be provided within 3 working days. The amount or additional amount that you have to pay in addition to the registration fee is 325. Then the registration fee by applicants who obtain their qualification at a training institution outside the Republic, however, within the SADC region, is 1,934. And for those who obtain their qualifications at the training institution outside the Republic and outside the SADC region, the amount there is 3,804. The words in brackets, colleagues, they refer as them having been deleted in terms of the regulation. So when you read these regulations, you must understand that the words all foreign and the word excluding have been removed from the regulations. Now, the other category for re-registration fee by a person whose registration has been suspended in terms of Section 22, subsection 1, paragraph B, is 803, because when you appear before a disciplinary inquiry and the disciplinary committee decide to suspend you for a particular period, that person is deemed to be deregistered during the period of the suspension. And after the expiry period of that suspension, that person is expected to re-register if that person still wants to continue practicing or recognize or identify him or herself with the SACSSP. Then in the event that the disciplinary committee cancel somebody's registrations in terms of Section 22, subsection 1, paragraph C, again, that person, a cancellation of a registration is not for life. That person may, after a particular period, when he's of the view that he thinks he's been rehabilitated in relation to the unprofessional conduct or improper conduct which led to the cancellation of her registration, that person may come later and apply for re-registration, and council will subject him or her to what we call the fit and proper test to determine as to whether she's a fit and proper person who can register and practice as such. So the amount there is 803 for registration. Now, the annual fee for social workers and child and youth care workers for the 2024-2025 financial year is 500 Rand. Now, it continues the requirement part A of the fees payable to council. The restoration fee in terms of person who wants to restore his or her name on the register in terms of Section 20, subsection 3 is 762. So this amount of 762 is inclusive of the annual fee and the restoration fee. Then there you might have noticed, those who have read the regulations already, that there's a provision talking to the registrar's fund for fees paid after the 31st of March, just to indicate that this provision is not enforceable, colleagues, by virtue of the regulation imposing a restoration fee. So a restoration fee equally it's a fine, if we were to put it that way. So we said we can't implement this because already is provided for in terms of the restoration fee. However, noting the huge number year in, year out of colleagues who are paying their annual fees late, so Secretariat is contemplating of revising this provision so that we introduce a fine for late payment of annual fee. It should happen within the context of within the 90 days period, because after the 90 days period, after the fee is payable, we must invoke the provision of Section 20 and remove the name of that person from the register for failing to pay an annual fee. So as part of the deterrence, colleagues, noting that colleagues most colleagues are not complying with the due period or time period for the payment of the annual fee, we are contemplating of revising or reviving in the introduction of a fee or a fine for late payment of annual fee. So it won't be applicable to you because all of you sitting here today, you are complying. We are talking to those who are not complying. So I think you'll agree with us that to deter this issue of the late payment of annual fee, we need to do something in between so that we discourage late payers so that they pay on time and comply with the law. The examination fee for the purpose of examination of a person who obtained qualification outside the Republic in terms of Section 17, capital letter D, subsection 3, the amount is 1,234. Examination fee for the purpose of an examination of a person who obtained a qualification inside the Republic. I think it should be, inside the Republic in terms of Section 18, capital letter A, subsection 5. The amount there is 1,340. Now, the admin fee for the reassessment of an application that needs to be resubmitted due to insufficient information, the amount is 214. Again, colleagues, we keep on reminding colleagues that when you make payment or any financial transaction with council, please use the correct reference number. And in this case, it will be the student registration number as a reference number. Now, category B is in relation to monies or fees payable to the council for registering a specialty in terms of Section 17, capital letter C of the Act. The assessment fee and these areas of specialty colleagues, it includes occupational social work, probation specialty, and adoption specialty, forensic services, and clinical social work. So those are the specialties that are there at this point in time. So if you are interested to register in this particular specialty, you are more than welcome to do so, and you have to pay an assessment fee of 900 rands, registration fee of 233. In the event that your specialty has been removed against your name on the register, or as a result of the suspension, because I've indicated that the suspension means that you are deregistered during that particular period of the suspension. When you want to come back after the expiry period of the suspension, you'll have to pay 803 for re-registration. And where your registration has been cancelled in terms of Section 20, subsection 1, paragraph C, and you want to come back after you have been rehabilitated, you'll have to pay 803 rand re-registration fee. And the annual fee, which is a separate annual fee from having been registered as a social worker. So the category of specialty where you are registered, you are also required to pay a separate 500, which is the applicable annual fee. Then the restoration fee, if your name has been removed in a particular register for specialty, is 765, and I've indicated is inclusive of the restoration fee and the annual fee. So the rules, the regulation talks to a registration fee. So just want to highlight that part. Police is supposed to read restoration fee and annual fee. So that's why we highlighted it there, so that you can be aware that it talks to one thing. The registration fee indicated there in paragraph subparagraph 5 there is the restoration fee. Basically, I spoke to the registrar's fund who say it's not applicable or enforceable because of the restoration fee. It's in place. Examination fee for specialty in terms of Section 17, capital letter C, subsection 2, capital letter A, paragraph B, the amount is 1,340, and the admin fee for reassessment of an application is 214 rands. Now, category C talks to student social worker and student child and care workers. And the registration fee before 31st March of the first year actually supposed to be the second year in terms of the regulation. This is another part that we've identified. And the amount there for the registration fee for student social workers and child and care workers is 262. Re-registrations after suspension period is 803. And re-registrations after cancellation of one registration is 803 as well. And restoration fee for the name of a person whose name has been removed from the register in terms of section 20, subsection 3 for student social workers and student child and care workers 262. And the admin fee for the reassessment of an application is 214. And the reference number to be used by student social worker who register for the first time and student child and care workers who register for the first time, we said is the number 60 plus 5 digits of a person's ID number or an applicant's ID number. That is the reference number that should be used, colleagues, not any number, not an ID number in full, because we wouldn't know who is that person so that we can allocate the money accordingly. Now, the category D talks to fees payable to council by social auxiliary workers and auxiliary child and youth care workers. And for the registration fee is 262 in relation to those who obtained a qualification at a training institutions in the Republic. And also the additional fee for those who need what you call a speed service is 325, and registration by applicant who obtain their qualification outside the Republic but within the SADC region is 1,310, and those who obtain their qualification outside the SADC region is 2,495. And the registration fee by person whose registration has been suspended is 803. And further to that, the registration fee by a person whose registration has been cancelled is 803. And the annual fee for social auxiliary workers and auxiliary child and care workers is at a reasonable amount of 250. And this is separate from the, we call that for the one for the social workers and child and care workers at professional level. It's a reasonable amount of 500 rand. The reason why I'm saying it's a reasonable amount, and I want to quantify or qualify it, in particular for those colleagues who are members of particular trade unions. We did an exercise that when you are a member of trade unions no longer charge anything less than 60 rand or 50 rand. Their monthly subscription fee is around 70, 80. Others, they even charge 100 rand. So when you multiply that amount that you pay per month, by 12, the amount that you pay just for the trade union, it goes beyond some of this amount. So that's why we are saying we do the comparison to say the annual fee or prescribed annual fee due to council colleagues. So far they are reasonable. And when you compare to other statutory bodies, for example, if you go to the Health Professional Council of South Africa, a psychologist or a doctor or any other professional, they pay around 1,000 plus in terms of the annual fee. Now it goes further. The restoration fee of a person whose name has been removed from the register is 512. We spoke to the registrar's fine. The examination fee is 1,340. In relation to a person who obtained a qualification outside the Republic, the same amount is also applicable to a person who obtained a qualification inside the Republic. Then the admin fee for reassessment of an application is 214. Now, the other category is in relation to fees payable for council pertaining to continuing professional development. The amount for a CPD activity offered to a practitioner at no cost to that practitioner is 150, and the fee for approval of a CPD activity offered to a practitioner at a specified registration fee or cost to the practitioner, where the service provider charged the practitioner a fee, the amount for that service provider for us to assess and approve the CPD activity, the amount is 800. And by the way, just to indicate, colleagues, that these webinars, we were busy in the process of finalizing the CPD, that they will also get the CPD points for this webinar. So as council, as a service provider in relation to this activity that we are doing, we have also paid. So council has paid council. So it's not only you guys who are paying, we are also paying in relation to where a particular division wants to render a service, an activity which is supposed to be, which we want it to be in CPD accredited. So we also paid that particular amount to the relevant division, which is the responsible division is ETD. Though the money might be going into the same account, but the principle is that CPD activities are prescribed in terms of the fees that should be payable in the event you want your CPD activity to be accredited, or your activity to be CPD points accredited, if I were to put it that way. Now, the additional fee or admin fee for reassessment of an application is consistent at the amount of 214. Now, the last category in terms of fee payable to council, it is the miscellaneous fees to be paid to us, which is, for example, for a duplicate registration certificate. If you want a duplicate because you've lost one, you will have to pay 275. If you want to inspect our register or registers in terms of social work, social auxiliary work, and child care workers and per occasion, you will have to pay 275. For the extract or request, or for the issue of an extract from the register, the amount is 562. And for the fee for certificate of status of good standing, so this is what colleagues know as the status report, we charge a fee of 675. Additional fee, this is per certificate of good standing. So if you want another one to be issued again and again, you will be charged an amount of 675. If you are looking for a speed service, we charge an amount of 325 rands. Now, regulation 2, paragraph H, provides that the fees referred to in paragraph A, B, C, D, and E shall be payable subject to. Annual fee is payable on or before 1st of January of every year, which is each year. Now, colleagues, this is the point that we want to emphasize, that the annual fee for the 2024-2025 financial year is due, because at this point in time, you have already paid the annual fee for the 2023-2024 financial year. All of you sitting here, I want to believe that you are in good standing, because if you are not, I can tell you now that you are due for deregistration. You are not allowed to practice. Therefore, you must go through the process of deregistration and go through the process of restoration, because council has taken a resolution in August that everyone who has failed to pay the annual fee by the 22nd of January 2023, by the 23rd of August 2023, they must be deregistered or their names must be removed from the register. So for this particular regulations, colleagues, we are talking to what's going to happen for the purpose of the next financial year coming, is that the annual fee should be paid to council by the 1st of January 2024 and not 31st March 2024, colleagues. 31st March, it has nothing to do with the payment of the annual fee. The 31st of March is the end of the financial year, and it serves a different purpose as far as the regulations on fees payable is concerned. So don't say, don't continue to say, because we hear colleagues say, no, the payment of annual fee, the last date of payment of annual fee is the 31st of March each year. No, it's the 1st of January. It used to say 2nd January. Now the regulations have changed. Now they are saying the due date for the payment of the annual fee is the 1st of January. Now, to avoid deregistering people immediately, so Section 20, subsection 1, paragraph D says a person who has failed to pay monies due to council within 90 days after it became due, that person's name must be removed from the register. So the period between the 2nd of January 2024 and the 90th day in 2024, which is around April, is for you to avoid being deregistered, is that you need to pay your annual fee. But colleagues, this is the plea that we want to make. Can we avoid this issue of the 31st of March or paying after the 1st of January? Let's try to pay our annual fee before January 2020 or the 1st of January 2024, so that we use the period between January and the 31st of March before the end of the financial year to issue practice cards. It is our endeavor and our commitment that we are going to issue practice cards on time to everyone who will have paid their annual fee on time. So we don't want a situation, colleagues, where colleagues continue to practice without valid practice cards, because it undermines our profession. Even magistrates court, magistrates are complaining about the SACSSP for allowing practitioners to continue working without being in possession of practice cards. So that's the commitment that we are making. But that commitment can only be fulfilled, colleagues, provided that you pay the annual fee on time, so that we process it on time. Because when you pay towards a month end of March, it becomes a rush hour. We're having more than 10,000 financial transactions that needs to be processed and allocated accordingly and issue practice cards. So it creates just a nightmare, and what you call an administrative nightmare in the office. So we want to avoid that, colleagues. And once more, we are pleading with you to please pay the annual fee for the 2024-2025 financial year on time. Now, the conditions continues to say first-time registration as a social worker, a social auxiliary worker, a child and youth care worker, or an auxiliary child and youth care worker, or a person registered in specialty. Registration and annual fee is payable in full for the financial year concerned before such person's name is entered in the register. So this regulation or sub-regulation is changed the provision. Previously, we used to have what we call a pro rata, that when you register in the middle of a financial year, you will pay what you call a pro rata payment. Now, it has changed now. Whatever period you register during the financial year, you'll have to pay a full amount as far as the registration fee and the annual fee is concerned. The same applies to in the case of a person who applies for re-registration after the suspension and also after the cancellation of the person's registration. You will have to pay a full amount of the registration and the annual fee as prescribed in the regulations in terms of the amount that we spoke to earlier on. Now, the same applies to the issue of restoration in terms of Section 20, subsection 3. The principle there is that the colleagues who have been removed from the register for failure to pay the annual fees, and others have disappeared for over 5 years, 6 years, and 10 years or so. Now, those colleagues, we've noticed that some of them, they are continuing to practice. Now, the principle is that before we can restore your name on the register, you must pay all the historical fees owed to council. So it is important, colleagues, that we need to ensure that we recover all the monies that are owed to council as far as the historical annual fees are concerned. So that is what paragraph 5 is providing for. Now, those monies, the other condition is that they must be payable for financial years following the publication of this regulation that shall apply to all persons irrespective of the date of the publication. So basically is that these regulations are applicable to everyone, colleagues, irrespective of when you come to register. If by the time these regulations were published, you have not been registered, and you come now, these regulations are applicable to you. And if you are already in the system, these regulations are also applicable to you. Now, further to that is that all the prescribed fees payable to council colleagues in terms of these regulations, they are inclusive of VAT. So you don't have to pay any additional amount in terms of a particular prescribed fee. The VAT is included already. Now, the Regulation 3 provides for what we call the exemption provision, meaning that there's category 1 that will qualify for an exemption for the payment from paying an annual fee. And that first category is the colleagues who would have turned the age of 65 by January each year. So those people will qualify for an exemption from paying the annual fee, whether they are in employment or not. So the principle here is to recognize what we call or regard as senior citizens. Now, how it applies is that, to give a simple example on how to apply this provision, is that if there's any person who will be turning age of 65 by the 1st of January 2024, those people will qualify for an exemption subject to an application, by the way, which must be submitted to council on or before the 30th of November this year. So they will qualify for an exemption for the 2024-2025 financial year. So if you happen that you are going to turn the age of 65 after the 1st of January 2024, you'll only qualify for an exemption if you apply for the 2025-2026 financial year. So those colleagues will be turning 2065 by 1st January 2024. We are encouraging you to apply and submit your applications on or before, or to reach us by the 30th of November this year, so that we can use the period between November and the 1st of January to make a determination. Remember, it's an application for an exemption. It's a subject of an inquiry or an investigation. Somebody has to sit and assess that application and make a determination as to whether indeed you meet the requirements to be exempted. So it's not obvious, because other people are getting just for in case. I'm not saying there's anyone of you doing it here. Other people, they may fake their age and those kind of things. Sometimes we need to do that kind of an investigation. So that's why we need to use the period between December and before 1st of January to do that, to make that determination. Now, the second category of the people who will qualify for an exemption is those who are experiencing health problems and they are not fit to can work within a particular financial year and cannot earn an income. So the regulations make provision that you may apply and qualify for an exemption. And the same principle apply that your application must reach us by the 30th of November, and in this case, it should be the 30th of November 2024. The third category that will qualify or may qualify for an exemption is those who are unemployed for a period of 3 consecutive months or more or longer, if I were to put it that way. They will also qualify for an exemption. However, for those who are unemployed, to their application, they must attach written proof that they are unemployed or has been unemployed for a period of 3 consecutive months or more, and also depose an affidavit at the police station on a prescribed form which can be accessed from us, or you go to the website, the council website, and retrieve the application form for an exemption. And in that affidavit, you must indicate that you are unemployed and you have no source of any source of income or any form of income. Now, for the last two categories, for health residents and also for those who are unemployed, your application, in the event you still under other financial year or next year, you are still not lucky in terms of employment opportunities, you must reapply. So they for one to qualify for an exemption based on health reasons and for being unemployed is that you must apply annually. So the only people who only get a once-off exemption for a period or maximum period of 5 years is our senior citizens. Now, I've emphasized the last point there to say a person referred to in paragraph B, those are the two categories of the health reasons and unemployed. You must be a registered person, because you can't qualify for a restoration or an exemption, if I were to put it that way. If you are not registered with us, you must be a registered person for you to qualify for an exemption. And if you are deregistered or your name has been removed from the council, from the register, is that you need to go through the restoration process first before you can apply for an exemption. Now, the other category is in relation to those who may qualify for what we call a partial exemption, which they will only pay 50% of the prescribed annual fee payable within that specific financial year. Is that there are those colleagues who, for other reasons, they decide not to practice the profession on a particular period. Now, you'll qualify for a partial exemption if you still want to maintain your registration status with us, but you are no longer practicing. You will qualify for what we call a partial exemption. However, that application must also reach us by the 30th of November. So that's another category of exemption, which we call it the partial exemption. Now, any person who qualifies for an exemption in terms of paragraph B and C is not allowed to practice the profession that he or she registered for, and must before re-entering the profession inform council in writing of such intention, and shall pay within 30 days the annual fee for the financial year during which he or she resumes practice, after which such exemption falls away. So basically, colleagues, this provision does not prohibit social service professionals who have been exempted from paying the annual fee from practicing. It does not prohibit them from practicing. However, it says if you qualified for an exemption, before, our understanding is that you are not going to practice again. You are not practicing because you qualified for an exemption, and in terms of health reasons and in terms of because you are unemployed and because also you stopped from practicing voluntarily. So now the point is that the principle is that we understand that you are not going to practice. However, if it happens that your health improves in a particular financial or within that particular financial year, you need to inform us in writing and within 30 days pay the prescribed annual fee before the process of continue to practice. The same applies to colleagues who are unemployed because you are not working. Unemployed basically means you are not practicing. But in the event it happens that you got a job opportunity or a job offer someone, you must inform us in writing and within 30 days of your intention to continue practicing, pay the prescribed annual fee. Now, if you have a job opportunity, colleague, and you were not practicing and you started practicing, we can't say stop and pay the money and continue practicing. We understand within that period of 30 days, from day one, let's say from 1st October, you got a job. So you don't have to stop from going to work. The understanding is that within that 30 days, you must pay that annual fee. Failure which, if you continue beyond the 30 days, continue practicing, now you are contravening the provisions of Section 15. And should we find you or council find you, we reserve our right to open a criminal case against that particular person who's practicing in contravention of Section 15 of the Social Service Professions Act. In closing of part 1 of the presentation, Regulation 4, they repealed the 2021 regulations. So the 2021 regulations, which are the regulations which were published on the 19th of November 2021, have been repealed by the regulations which were published on the 2nd of June 2023. And Regulation 5 provides that we must publish as council the list of the valid transaction type. So meaning that the part that I was reading in terms of the registration fee, the assessment fee, the speed service, the annual fee, fee in relation to those who want to access our register or to examine it, to request for a status report, is our responsibility to publish this list so that members of the public, in particular our registrants and employers, can be aware. So part of this webinars is what we are doing is to educate you so that you can be aware of these regulations and the prescribed fees. But in addition to that, we are obliged by law to publish the list of the valid transaction type code. Now, sub-regulation 4, it provides for the payments that cannot be correctly allocated because of failure to comply with sub-regulation 2. Those payments will be regarded as not received in time if there is a deadline by which the payment is due. And the example that we want to emphasize is that, or the principle we want to emphasize is that for the 2024-2025 financial year, the annual fee not paid by the 1st January 2024 colleagues will be regarded as not received in time, meaning the implication is that you are going to be tagged as a person who have failed to pay the annual fee on time. And the issue there is that if the monies cannot be allocated accordingly because of subparagraph 5 there, we cannot identify that payment. And let me just clarify, put in simple terms. If you pay money late outside the 1st January 2024, and you, for some reason, you forget to use the correct reference number, and we are struggling to locate or allocate that money accordingly, is that in practice, you are going to be tagged, and chances are your name is going to be removed from the register because we can't allocate that money or the payment because we don't know who paid that particular month. So it's important, colleagues, to use the correct reference number. However, the sub-regulation 5 says those monies where they've been paid to council and we cannot identify the person who paid and we cannot allocate those monies accordingly, we must keep those monies in a separate account for a period not exceeding 3 years. Now, after a 3-year period, if no one came forward to claim that particular payment, the regulation says we may use that money and recognize it as another income of council and use those monies for the day-to-day operations of council, because we can't do a refund because we don't know as to whom we're supposed to refund as far as those monies are concerned. But we can't use that money within a period of 3 years. We can only use it after a period of 3 years, with the understanding that probably somebody might come forward and claim that particular money and we allocate it accordingly. So to avoid all the hassles, colleagues, let's just stick to the principle of paying the annual fee on time, which is on or before the 1st of January 2024. And by the 31st of March, we are guaranteeing you that we are going to work hard to ensure that everyone is in possession of his or her practice card, then so that we redeem our profession and the people on the ground can also take us seriously. That brings us to the part 1 of the presentation. I'm going to hand over through you, Program Director, and over to the Deputy Chairperson of the Professional Board for Social Work. Thanks very much, and thanks to everyone for listening to the presentation.
Thank you, Acting Registrar, for the detailed presentation. We will now allow Ms. Morake to continue with the latter part of the presentation. Ms. Morake, over to you.
Good morning once more, colleagues, and thank you so much, Program Director. Let me take this opportunity to also acknowledge the presence of the Chairperson for the Professional Board for Social Work, Ms. Ida Stradom, and the most distinguished guests, our SSPs, and also if we have senior managers in our midst, your sacrifice is highly appreciated. Actually set aside your hectic schedule to be with us for this important information sharing session. Mr. Sikita, like I would always say, thank you so much again for a very comprehensive and detailed presentation, which is the most difficult presentation because it's based on the Act and the regulations. I commend you for that as well, not forgetting as well our team from the office. I will just get straight to part 2 of the presentation, which is net payment. I usually start by saying this is the practicality, this is the implementation of the Act and regulations. SSPs, the Secretariat, referring to the Acting Registrar, the managers, and the team in the Council office, have explored different methods of payment so that we can actually accommodate everyone in terms of making this payment of the annual fee very, very easy. As an individual, you can actually make a direct payment at any NetBank branch. I cannot overemphasize what the Acting Registrar, Mr. Skitla, has been saying to make sure that you put your practice number as your reference on the deposit slip. And to the employers that are making bulk payment on behalf of SSPs, please ensure that you provide the council with a detailed list containing the names, registration numbers, and amount paid in respect of each SSP. because failure to comply with this list with specific requirements could lead to the wrong allocation of funds. And the acting registrar have emphasized that unallocated funds have its own implications as well in case the deadline has passed. So let's just make sure that we comply by putting the names correctly, the registration number, and the amounts. I see on my screen something says hold on. I'm not sure. Looks like something went wrong. Am I still audible, colleagues? Please confirm by thumbs up. Can you hear me? Okay, okay, thank you so much. I'm using two gadgets here, so it's always a struggle. And then the second method of payment, except for going directly to the bank, as individuals, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. You can use electronic or internet payment. Same applies. When you do that internet payment, kindly use your practice number as a reference. May you kindly go to, okay, yeah, this is a struggle. May you kindly go to the next slide, Mr. Sikitla? Okay. Another payment method, the third payment method to ensure that we accommodate all of you is directly to the office. Please note that the office does not take cash for so many reasons that I cannot explain here. So just make sure that you pay your annual fee using the correct account number, the correct branch code, and the type of account for the council is the current account. What is also important in this regard is that always make sure that you submit the proof of payment. The next slide, please. Colleagues, please don't be frustrated by taking notes. The presentation will be forwarded to you, so the correct banking details of the council will be in that presentation as well. The fourth method of payment is Sage Pay, where you can pay through debit or credit card. We're now familiar with the QR code, so you can scan the QR code and indicate on the invoice. And you also have several options if you don't really have access to internet or accessibility. So you can go to the South African Post Office, ShopRite, Checkers, House and Home, OK Furnishers, and you save stores. Students, I hope we have in our midst students or representative from academic institutions in Gauteng. So with the students, the institution of higher learning should also, when they have done bulk payment, they must actually forward to the council the full names, ID numbers, and the amount paid in respect of each student. Like I said before, if these requirements are not met, the finance division will have challenges and it might result in unallocated funds. Next slide, please. Colleagues, for every action or non-compliance, we all know that will be subjected to consequences. And there's a code that I found yesterday which says, if you think compliance is expensive, try non-compliance. In this instance, what I mean is that for me, it would actually is the right thing to do, but it will be reasonable to pay your annual fee on time rather than not to comply. and you end up paying not only the annual fee, but also the restoration fee. So according to Section 20 of the Act, which speaks to the removal from, rectification in, and restoration to the register of names, subsection 1 states that the council may order the registrar to remove the name of any person from the register concerned if the council is satisfied that such person in paragraph D has failed to pay any money which he owes to the council within 3 months after the date upon it became payable. So from the 1st of January, 90 days afterwards, your name may be removed from the register. Colleagues, let's take responsibility. And I'm going to emphasize again to say the due date for the annual fee is the 1st of January. And there's nothing from now to start making our annual payment. I had this referring to the registrar and the program director being our registration manager and finance division being represented as well, saying, try us. Let's see if things are done on time. We cannot issue you with your practice card on time. So let's try them. Furthermore, Regulation 4, Sub-Regulation 2 of the regulations regarding the registration of social workers, the certificate of registration is deemed to have been withdrawn from the day the name of the holder thereof was removed from the register. So, colleagues, you may have hanged your certificate on your wall, but once your name has been removed from the register, just know that your certificate is also being deemed withdrawn. Section 20, subsection 1A of the Act provides that notice of removal of a person's name from the register by virtue of provision of any of the paragraphs B to H of subsection 1 shall be given by the registrar to the person concerned by a registered letter sent through the post to his address registered in the register concerned. I would like to appeal with you again, SSPs, to say, to update details of your personal information, including your address should you change homes. It's your responsibility. And if you don't change your address with the council and there are correspondences sent to you, you are still responsible and accountable because you didn't change your personal details. Therefore, I urge you to say, let's try to comply in terms of paying on time, avoiding that our names should be removed from the register, and also constantly updating our information. The third part is Section 16 of the Act, which talks to offense and penalty. Please note and take cognizance of this. Any person who contravenes any provision of Section 15, subsection 1, shall be guilty of an offense, and on conviction, you will be either liable to a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 6 months. SSPs, is it really necessary to even be subjected to offense and penalty by just merely not complying in terms of paying your annual fee? Next slide, please. There are rules relating to of social worker, a student social worker, which shall constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. There are behaviors that are detrimental to the profession, colleagues. Rule 3, which talks to the acts or omission of a social worker which shall be deemed to be detrimental to the profession and constitute unprofessional or improper conduct in terms of sub-rule 9. The employment of a person as a social worker, student social worker, or social auxiliary worker, knowing that such person has not been registered in terms of the Act. It actually behavior detrimental to the profession, and it's deemed as unprofessional and improper conduct. The same applies in terms of Rule 4, acts or omission of child and youth care worker which are detrimental to the profession constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. Paragraph E says employing a person as a child and youth care worker or a student child and youth care worker, knowing that such a person is not registered in terms of the Act. And Rule 7, Paragraph F, employing a person who is not registered in terms of the Act to perform child and youth care work. SSPs, we are professionals. We have moral values. Let's strive to do the right thing all the time. If you know that you will be applying for a position, of course, we want growth and change of environment. Take responsibility to make sure that amongst other required documents, you furnish your prospective employer with your practice card and proof of payment for that particular or the current year. For me, that's being responsible and accountable. The same goes to the employer. Of course, through their HR processes, they must just make sure that when they advertise the post, one of the requirements must include, the practice card and a proof of registration for the current year. This will actually minimize the consequences that goes with not complying with the Act. Next slide, please. This slide talks to recourse for a person whose name was removed from the register. Section 20, subsection 1, paragraph D, which talks to removal, and also section 20, subsection 3, provides that if the council is satisfied that the reason why any person's name had ceased to exist and that he satisfies the requirements for registration in terms of this Act, the council may, on application made in the prescribed manner by such person and after payment of the prescribed fee, order that his name or her name be restored to the register from which it was removed. Colleagues, we are human beings. Mistakes do happen for different reasons, but it's not an excuse that we have to make mistakes. But the Act provides for a recourse, or a remedial way if in case you realize that your name has been removed and you have been complying, your name will be restored. Section 25 speaks to appeal against refusal penalty or of being removed from the register. Colleagues, we are living in a democratic country. Should you feel aggrieved and not satisfied, the Acts make provision for you to appeal. Next slide, please. Social service professionals and employers of SSP, we have an obligation to comply to the Act, to the rules and the regulations. SSP, just know that by not paying your annual fee, you are actually contravening the Act, the rules and the regulations. Hence, some of the consequences will be your name being removed from the register. And if you read very well, the definition of a social worker is someone who's also registered with the council. And you know, if your name has been removed from the register, you cannot practice. So let's comply and do the right thing. Employers, you also have a responsibility for the social services professionals that you have employed. You have the responsibility to also implement the Act, rules and regulations. In case you find that the SSP is not complying, please take the necessary steps in terms of the Labor Relations Act against the social service professional who refuse or fail to comply with the Act, rules and regulations. Next slide, please. Program Director, this brings me to the end of my presentation. But before I can actually leave now, talking about payments and consequences, it's not easy, but I just want to encourage the social services professionals who are here today to say, if you think compliance is expensive, try non-compliance. And you've been provided with different methods of payment so that you can be accommodated despite where you are. And with Howden, we know we have access to so many things. Please, every time you think of non-compliance, remember that you went to school, you went to a tertiary institution, you have acquired this 4-year degree. And I know you always strive to adhere to the professional ethical standards. And I know that you know that the members of the public or our beneficiaries need our services, knowledge, and skills. So we are actually important and we have a role to play. So let's develop a culture, a professional culture of compliance. Compliance within our Act, regulations and rules. Like I've emphasized, we are professionals, we have a moral value. And I definitely know that you will comply because you have passion for this profession and you want to maintain your license to practice, to serve the vulnerable and the marginalized groups of our society. I know you have committed to serve, not only to serve, to raise the profile of our profession. I thank you.
Thank you, Mamorake. Thank you, Mamorake. And thank you to the acting registrar, SSPs, employers, institutions of higher learning, representatives from associations and trade unions. That has brought us to the end of the presentations from our presenters. We will be now moving to the next item on the program of questions and answers, which is the engagement session. But prior to that, acting registrar, can you remove the slide so that we can fly the program? Thank you, acting registrar. While we're waiting to flag up the program, we are all going to engage. We will appreciate colleagues to raise their hands and to also put their questions in the chat box. We will capture them. Then we will try and provide responses to them But prior to that, part one of the presentation, SSPs and employers talk to the principle of us getting it right, getting it correct from the first time. Part B emphasized compliance and responsibilities from both the parties, the SSPs and the employers. With that said, an emphasis was that let us uphold the noble prestige or the integrity of our profession. By so saying, we are now opening the session that has been long awaited. This is a session now where we can unmute ourselves, but a humble request is that, can we do that in a more calmer or quiet process? Because if colleagues are not going to raise any questions, can they remain muted? However, if they want to raise the question, can they then raise their hands? And the reason for us presenting this to you, colleagues, is we have realized that some of you have joined using perhaps one computer or one system. So as and when that person from the group raises her hand, can the other colleagues remain muted so that we can have an order of questions and be able to capture the questions as and when they're going to be asked. We will allow hands to be raised so that then we can identify the hands and have a systematic way of responding to them. In the meantime, while my colleagues are noting the hands, we will just present the two questions that we are picking up from the chat box while we are noting the hands, colleagues. Colleagues from SACSSP, while we're noting hands, so that we can have a systematic way of responding to them, we will use this opportunity to put the questions to the acting registrar as per the chat box. The first question says, is from Jita Zimmerman. Good morning. How much do we need to pay by 1st January 2024 for our SACSSP membership? The second question is, what is your return time to issue receipts after receiving proof of payment? These are the two questions that have been identified in the chat box for now, acting registrar. If you can respond to them while we are identifying the hands from the SSPs. Acting registrar.
I'm here, Program Director. Can
Thank
you assist
you.
me to track? Can you assist me to track the first question?
Yes, we are tracking questions. Hence, we've said, while we're tracking the hands, let us allow you to just respond to the two that we've captured from the chat boxes. Is the one that says how much do we need to pay by 1st of January? And then the other one is what is the return time to issue receipts after receiving proof of payment? So we are tracking the hands that side. Over to you then, acting.
Thanks, Program Director. On the question as to how much is the prescribed annual fee, the prescribed annual fee for social workers and child and youth care workers at professional level is 500 rand. And the annual fee for child and youth care workers and social auxiliary workers at the level of at auxiliary level, it's 200. I mean, it's my apology, it can be 200. Is the why did I miss the amount, Program Director? The annual fee for social auxiliary workers and child and youth care workers at auxiliary level is 250. So it's 550 for social workers and child and youth care workers at professional level, and 250 for social auxiliary workers and auxiliary child and youth care workers. And for those who have registered for specialty, the annual fee is 500 rand. Now, in terms of the turnaround times for the issuing of the practice card, it depends in terms of the who paid. For those who paid, who are going to pay through the employers, we want to issue, or we've been issuing bulk practice cards and sending them to the employer, in particular those who are working in a government department, Provincial Department of Social Development and Provincial Department of Health. We've been issuing the practice cards in bulk. Now, under normal circumstances, in terms of an individual person who made a payment for an annual fee looking for a practice card, the normal period will be within 30 days. However, because of the colleagues paying late and also paying at a particular point in time in a form of what you call rush hour, it has always been a struggle for us to process the payments and issue the practice cards on time. But within 30 days of having paid the annual fee, we should be able to allocate that money and issue the prescribed practice card. I know colleagues, they call it a receipt. I always say it's a practice card. A receipt is just a confirmation that you received, you made a payment, and we issue the receipt. Is separate from what a practice card. So let's use the language of practice cards, colleagues, so that it identifies with our professions. Thanks, Program Director. I see there's another question in the chat bar. Are there plans to make CPD points available online on the SACSSP portal? If there were no plans, I recommend that the council looks into this matter. Indeed, Mayor, I'm not sure that is Sir or Madam Mieza Simpiwe. Indeed, that's what we are looking for. In actual fact, the part of the process that we've been discussing is that we need to develop an online training on the Social Service Professions Act, the rules and the regulations that we were talking to now, and other rules and regulations which we did not talk to, so that each and every social service professionals, upon registration, they must be subjected to the online training on the Social Service Professions Act, because part of the problems that we are experiencing, or part of the reasons we are experiencing high volume of calls or inquiries in the offices, is in relation to issues which are contained in the Social Service Professions Act, the rules and regulations. And we believe that if our social service professionals can be empowered in terms of knowledge around the Act, the rules and regulations, it will minimize the issue of the inquiries that we are receiving, and also it will minimize the issue of non-compliance with the Act and the rules and the regulations. So thanks very much for that proposal. We are considering to implement it, and currently we are in the process of finalizing the development of the IT integrated system, which will also make provision for online training and so forth, and online payment and so forth, and the online training receiving of your registration certificate and so forth. Now, Jabulile Dlamini, Program Director, states, thank you for the detailed presentation. However, would I like to know the chances of claiming the unallocated fund after 3 years? Now, Jabulile, that means you can't claim that money unless I'm misunderstanding the word claiming, because if claiming for me is that you've made a payment to cancel for a particular transaction, and let's say, for example, you were making a payment for the purpose of paying an annual fee. So when you come forward, you can't claim that money, because that money we must tell us it was for what purpose, so that we allocate it accordingly. Now, my understanding, if the money can be unallocated and has to be refunded back to the payee, is a person who made an erroneous payment into our account by mistake. But our understanding is that if you make a financial transaction to cancer, it can be for one of the reasons which we spoke to, either registration fee, re-registration, restoration, annual fee, and so forth. So when you come because you did not use the correct reference number, and you come, you indicate this my proof of payment, I was supposed to put the correct reference number, which is my registration number. We must allocate that money accordingly. We can't pay you that money back, unfortunately, because then it means something else. But if it was a payment made in error, then indeed we'll have to refund the payee that money because it was made in error. But the monies that we are referring to in terms of unallocated, which must be kept in a separate account for 3 years, is in relation to monies which, in terms of the law, are payable to counsel by social service practitioners. Now, there's another chart. Can practice cards be made digital as well? That is part of the process that we are working on. In actual fact, the intention is to say we need people to get to a point where people are able to make payments online at the comfort of their homes and also be able to access practice cards online at the comfort of their home. So you pay, it gets to be processed, then immediately you get your practice card. So that's what we are working on in terms of the new online registration system. For individual payments, we collect practice cards at Pretoria, or will it be posted? We are posting the practice cards. So we're going to look at 3 methods, colleagues. The posting, sending the practice cards to the government department, which is Health and Social Development, in terms of the collective bargaining agreement, which was signed in the bargaining council in relation to employees or professionals or SSPs who are working in the Department of Social Development and Health. The third method we are looking for is emailing the practice cards, because posting, we're experiencing challenges with the post office, where most of what we are posting keeps on coming back. Then it becomes a challenge for us. But those who are willing and have the means to come and collect their practice card, because Gauteng is within the radius of Pretoria, all the offices around Gauteng. If you do have the means, you are more than welcome to come and collect your practice card. But the challenge is when you come and collect a practice card while we have posted it. Now it creates an additional admin work for us to reissue basically a practice card. But because we understand this system is still in the process of developing, and we want you to get your practice card on time, unfortunately or fortunately, when you are here, we can't send you back and say we have posted your practice card. We'll have to reissue you with the practice card, so that you live here with that particular document, so that when you practice, you are able to produce it as and when you are required to do so. Omutso Mahuma, Program Director. Good morning, colleagues. Sir, you indicated that the due date for payment is the 1st January. In the case where the HR is facilitating process of payment, will the council make aware of the new date, or members should approach HR and make them aware of the new date? Please advise. Thank you for the fruitful presentations. Now, I want to believe Omutso Mahuma is working for either Department of Health or Department of Social Development. So we will be making all the provincial Department of Social Development aware of these regulations and and the payment which they're supposed to make. The fortunate part is that the collective agreements, the Resolution 3 of 2019, which was signed in the Public Health and Social Development Sectoral Bargaining Council, provides that the employer shall deduct the money from your salaries through PESAL by October. So next month they will be making the deductions. Others might delay until October and so forth. So, but we understand that they are aware in terms of the date by which they're supposed to deduct monies from their salaries. The only thing that they are aware, but we just need to confirm is the amount that they are supposed to deduct from your salary. So that particular area is covered. But my advice or our advice is that due to some administrative challenges that may happen in between, also take responsibility as a social service professional to ensure that the employer has deducted the money. In the event they have not deducted, please engage them, because at this point in time, our registers and employers database, they don't reconcile. We have the database in terms of people who are registered. We don't have the database in terms of where people are working. So these two databases, they don't speak to one another. So if they miss you on the list, we will assume that you did not pay the annual fee for this prescribed financial year. Now, it's your responsibility to say, if you see no deduction having been effected from your salary, to engage your employer. They could have missed your name by mistake. Engage them and alert them to say, I'm also a social service professional who is due to pay the annual fee to council, so that they can do the corrections, make the deduction, and pay that money to council. Can the practice cards not be sent out to all SSPs? I think it's Mr. Hayden Pillay, I think it's my comrade from Gauteng DSD. Can the practice cards not be sent to all SSPs that the council has verified for registration fees, deductions for employees via emails, and further request all SSPs to go through the council communication platform to inform them they are required to update their emails and communication information for the purpose of the practice card? Thanks, Mr. Play. You are raising an important issue. Actually, the point that you are raising, we forgot to mention it because it is a legal requirement, by the way, that the social service professionals, within 3 months after they've changed their particulars, which is their contact details and their addresses, they are supposed to notify the registrar in writing. And failure to do so in actual fact constitutes a contravention of Section 20, and the person who fails to do so, his or name may be removed from the register. Actually, let me just quote the relevant section so that for the purpose of record, colleagues can hear it. Section 20, subsection 1 provides that the council may order the registrar to remove the name of any person from the register concerned if the council is satisfied that such person, E, has failed to furnish the address of his permanent residence in accordance with the written request of the registrar addressed to his address as registered in the register. So now and then, colleagues, we always make an emphasis for colleagues to update their contact details and their addresses, so that all the correspondences that we issue, including the practice cards, goes to the relevant person or to the correct person. So it also includes the issue of the practice card. So failure to do so, colleagues, you are subject to your name being removed from the register. But we've being an understanding statutory body, but our understanding is also creating a problem because people change their details, they don't update, then we struggle to locate them. So thanks very much, Mr. Pillay, for raising this particular issue. Then is what is up to the the colleagues now to ensure that they update their contact details, in particular the addresses, so that they can receive their practice card on time. Good morning. What happens, I want to believe, is if the employer deducts the money for annual registration and fail to pay it to the council before the due date for payment of annual registration fee, that is Buleng Bahula, you will not be penalized, Bahula. We will understand that in actual fact, 2020, 2021, there were just administrative challenges, but the employer have mastered the system now. The period for collection of monies or deducting monies is October. November, December, they can still do that. But in the event, like I've indicated, that it happens that employer omit your name by a mistake, we will not remove your name from the register, even if we remove it, because by that time we will have not known as to where you are working. The minute we realize that we removed your name from the register by mistake, we will do what we call rectification and rectify the register and restore your name on the register. You will not be penalized for the omissions that employer would have made by not deducting or paying those monies late. But the system, how we are working closely with all the provincial departments of social development, HR and labor relations on a regular basis, so they are aware of the system. And the only time that your name can be omitted, it will be because of an error. Employers, we really appreciate what they've been doing since 2019 up to so far. They are doing good job. At that point, it was us council delaying in terms of informing them as to the amount that they're supposed to deduct from your salaries, because at that time we're still waiting for the relevant authorities to publish the regulations in relation to the annual fee that is payable. But so far we can't fault employers, colleagues. We really appreciate the work that they've been doing in terms of ensuring that those who are liable to pay the annual fee, they do so, they deduct the monies and pay. So we also want to encourage colleagues to say, please do not make individual payments, especially those who are working for Department of Social Development and Department of Health. Please do not make individual payments as far as the payment of annual fee is concerned, because it's going to lead to double payment, meaning that we must refund you, which is going to create another administrative additional work for us in the office. So instead of allocating those resources to other people who are looking for other services, we'll have to do the refunds. So please do not make the payments directly. The employer will take responsibility for that. And while we are still there, colleagues, I want to emphasize the other issue, in particular to employers, that please, as and when it happens that one of the social service professionals, they pass on, please inform the SACSSP in writing, so that we can update our registers and remove the name of that person from the register in terms of section 20, subsection 1, paragraph A. As I've indicated, that we do not have our database or our registers are not linked to employers and are also not linked to the Home Affairs. So when a person's death got to be registered at the Department of Health, we don't have access to that information. So we are relying on the employers in the main to inform us, council, please note that employee XX has passed on this particular date. Please find attached the death certificate. We are also relying on family members who, for some good reasons, they are aware that their family member was a registered social worker or a registered social service professionals. They do inform us in terms of the sad news, which is the death. But other than that, other family members are not aware of that. They know that their daughter is a social worker. But some, they don't know that that person who's a social worker is registered with a particular statutory board. So we're making an appeal to employers to please inform us or update us as and when these unfortunate incidents do happen, so that we can update our registers accordingly. How do I get Matlala Mashabela? How do I get refunded after I have paid and the department also pay on my behalf? Then you will have to send an email to us, so that we can do the refund, and also attach the proof of payment, so that we can do the refund. The program director or Ms. Mbuzo will send the Mr. Lucian Pilay's email address and the other 11 colleagues' email address, where you can send a request for refund, so that you email that request and attach proof of payment to that email address. Hearts of Hope, you are welcome to the webinar. With regard to foreign nationals who have completed their child and care work course in South Africa, South African institutions, do they pay the same amount required? Program director, just hold on for a second. My battery is dying.
SSPs, once you await the registrar to connect, can we identify hands? We've already identified 7. And I think after he has presented or he has clarified the last message by Hearts of Hope, we will then now identify the hands, so that then we can provide answers. Acting Registrar, are you back?
I'm back, me.
Thank you then. We were saying the last comment that you're going to give is for Heart of Hope. And after that, then we can go to the hands that we've already not identified. Over to you.
Thanks, Program Director. Yeah, the colleagues were talking to the issue of those who have completed the qualification. So I just want to flag the presentation, so that we are clear in terms of what needs to be, the amount that needs to be paid. So firstly, the regulation provides that registration fee by applicants who obtain their qualification at a training institution in the Republic of South Africa, registration fee is 265. Now, for registration fee by applicants who obtain their qualifications at a training institution outside the Republic but within SADC region is 1,934. And those who obtain their qualifications at the training institution in a Republic outside the Republic and outside SADC region is 3,804. So that's at the level of registering at a professional level. Then registering at auxiliary level, the registration fee for a person who obtained a qualification at a training institution in the Republic of South Africa is 262, and within SADC region but outside the Republic is 1,310, and outside SADC region and outside South Africa is 2,495. Thanks, Program Director.
SSPs, colleagues and employers, we are now going to identify people as per, or registrants or practitioners as per the hands that have been raised. We have Hearts of Hope. Hearts of Hope, I'm not too sure whether your questions are the ones that are already in the chat box, or you also have another question to present. Heart of Hope.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
With regard to the question that I asked.
Heart of Hope, can you please identify can you please identify yourself so that we can capture
Hello?
as such? Hello? Can you hear me? Yes, SSP Heart of Hope. Can you kindly identify who you are so that we can capture that? Not as Heart of Hope, but the person who's presenting the question. Okay.
Can everyone hear me? I'm back.
Yes, we can. Our request
Yes.
was, can you kindly identify who you are? Because
All
we
right,
captured
okay.
number 1 as Heart of Hope.
Yes. So my name is Charles Tapala. I'm working for Hearts of Hope. I'm a social worker at Hearts of Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. You can continue with your question.
Yes, so it's a follow-up question with the one that I've asked in the chat box. It says, so I want to know for the social service professionals who are using passports. So which reference do they then have to use when they are paying the annual fee? Is it the same as do they have to use the digits on their passports as highlighted by the presenter, or do they then have to use a different number?
Thank you, Mr. Charles Kavala. Listen to the further to the presentation. Your answer will be presented there. Can you identify number 2, hand number 2 by Kaugelo Mtetwa? Mr. Kaugelo Mtetwa? Kaugelo Mtetwa? All right, let's move then, colleagues. Are you here? Yes, you can go ahead.
I'm here.
You can then
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
No, I think one of the cards did ask the question that I wanted to forward to you guys, to say that there's been a situation whereby the municipality or an institution was paying for social workers or social service practitioners, and thereafter it was changed and there was double payment, and how to go about getting the fund. I think Mr. Skitler did try to respond to that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaugelo. Can we have Puleng Bahula? Puleng Bahula.
Good morning.
Good morning, Puleng.
Thank you very much, Program Director. My question has already been answered from the chat box.
All right. Thank you, Puleng. Can we have Komuto Mahuma? Komuto?
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you, ma'am. I need clarity. I think I put my question there on the chat box to say, in the case where there is a delay of payment from HR, who is going to be penalized in that instance? Is it the member or the department? Because I foresee, I don't know, but I have a fear that there might be delay concerning the payment. Come the 1st of January, some of us, I'm afraid that will be able to pay, especially for us, those who pay from HR.
All right. Clarity will be then provided. Can we have number 5, Chifiwa Mukeli? Chifiwa? Can we have your question or your presentation?
Okay, good morning, colleagues, and thank you for a comprehensive presentation. My name is Chifiwa Mukeli. I'm the Director for Oral Health and Therapeutic Services in Gauteng. My question was answered. I wanted to propose if we can move into digital, where the social worker will be able to access the CPD status and also their practice card, as we had challenged last year with them getting their practice card. Thank you very much. So we are looking forward for online or digital services for our social worker. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Sis Chifiwa. Can we have somebody from Tembisa Child Welfare? We record it as Tembisa Child Welfare. Tembisa Child Welfare.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for taking my question. My name is Lindy Mulefe from Tembisa Child Welfare. I just want to raise a concern and a few questions. I am concerned coming from the NPO sector about the deafening silence that we heard from the council in the midst of our salaries being cut by 61%. The council was nowhere to defend and protect our rights or our interests and to ensure that we as professionals are treated with the dignity that we deserve. My questions are around the fee payments. We have not had any salary increase as the NPO sector for the past 2 years, and yet the salary increase will affect all of us. At the same time, we employ child and youth care workers who don't earn as much as social workers. If I look at the increase, it will mean that they will have to pay 10% of their salary. And I think maybe when this new increase was proposed, it did not factor in the context in which NPOs operate under. The last thing is that in your regulations, you say the financial year ends at 31 March. I would like to understand the rationale for putting forward the date of payment to January, because as the NPO sector, sometimes by January, we don't have our subsidies, which will enable both the social workers and the child and youth care workers to be able to pay their fees. Thank you so much for now.
Thank you, Sis Lindy. Can we move to number 7, Hayden Pillay? Sis Lindy, can you mute? We've heard you. We will respond.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Is that Hayden now?
Yes, it's Hayden speaking.
Thank you, Hayden.
Pillay from Social Development. From an employer part, I think the crucial part for us and council is in terms of our timeline of submitting the list of all our SSPs, as well as how long council takes to verify that they are all registered on the register, as well as confirming the fees. Because the key to implementing on time is how fast we turn around the time of receiving the verified list from the council. I mean, our stakeholder treasury department does not take that long to effect the payments. So to eliminate non-payment, also to identify those that probably were omitted mistakenly from the list that was submitted for deductions. We will have grace period for November, December to ensure that those people are informed and notified in the event of that happening. So my request between employer and council, if we can stick to a specified turnaround time, from the time you receive our list of employees under SSPs to the time you take to verify the registration number as well as the fees amount and submit it back to us for implementing the deduction, that will be very crucial for eliminating all these other areas that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pillay. Over to you, Acting Registrar.
Thank you, Program Director. Program Director, can I kindly request that the colleagues in the registrations division deal when I'm done with the question in terms of reference number for colleagues who are using passports. It is the first time that I'll come across it, so I don't want to mislead the sector in that regard. Now, before, just after Hearts of Hope, there was a question that I missed, program director, but let me go to the third question. I think it was a comment which also linked to what Mr. Play just said now, which is very, very, very important, the issue of late payment by employers. And I think when I was talking, I emphasized that the challenge in particular was on our side in terms of us informing employers on time in terms of the amount that they should deduct, because we would have at a particular point in time waiting for the relevant authorities to also publish the regulations. So the reason why we are doing this is because at least for the financial year 2024-2025, the regulations are in place on time. We don't expect that there will be challenges. In addition to address what Mr. Pillay is saying, to say, council, as soon as we provide you with a list of the social service professionals we have employed, please verify as quick as possible and resubmit the list back to us and tell us as to how much we must deduct. So that's the commitment that the Secretariat of Council is committing to do and address and ensure that at least by end of October 2023 or latest November 2023, all employers as far as Department of Health and Social Development have made the monies which are due to council. Now, there was an issue, colleagues raised a concern to say they observed that council was silent and did not protect them when employer was cutting their salaries by half and so forth, and that the issue of the NPO sector as far as the challenges with the salaries is concerned. Now, colleagues, this is the issue which we need to address. And firstly, I must indicate, colleagues, we sympathize with colleagues who are affected, in particular in the NPO sector. And this is not only happening in Gauteng, it also happens in other provinces, including the Northern Cape. We sympathize with the colleagues who are affected. However, the challenge is our mandate as the council. The mandate of council does not include engaging or fighting the issues of social service professionals as far as their conditions of services is concerned. If you joined the presentation from the beginning, you would have noticed that the mandate of council is the core mandate of council is divided into three, which is the registration, professional conduct, education, and training. However, when we see or observe some of the challenges which are outside our mandate, we don't fold our arms, colleagues. The issue of the conditions of service of social service professionals, it has been a thorny issue for a long time, and the role that we've been playing, colleagues, maybe it might have not reached our social service directly. In any platform where we meet with the employers, and employers in this case, we are talking about the National Department of Social Development, and the forums where the provincial departments are, national forums where the provincial departments are participating, we always advocate for the issues of improved conditions of service of social service professionals, and also not only on the issue of the salaries, but also on the issue of employment of child and youth care workers. However, we don't have the legal authority as the SACSSP to take employers on, colleagues. We don't have the mandate to do that. That is the responsibility of the professional associations and also the trade unions organizing in the social service sector to fight for the conditions of service of social service professionals in terms of the Labor Relations Act. We don't have the authority to do that. However, we do not keep quiet. We don't fold our arms, but it's just we don't go public about some of the things we do to ensure that those issues are addressed. We are working with different employers at different levels, but we engage them in the boardrooms and in the forums where we meet them. So that issue of Gauteng in particular, we are attending to it. In particular, the professional board, I think the chairperson and the deputy chairperson are here. There's a letter that we wrote to the Minister of Social Development. I just want to be so that I become factual. On the 6th of June 2023, we wrote a letter to the Minister of Social Development, and that letter was signed by the chairperson of the Professional Board for Social Work, May Ida Strano. And amongst the issues that we are raising with the minister, where we are requesting a meeting, is around the issue of the unemployed rate among social work graduates, and also the issue of the engagement with the stakeholders, and also the issue of rising social issues in the country that require social service, social workers. So, and part of these issues, it will also include the engagement around the issue of the conditions of service of social service professionals. So we can engage and alert the Minister of Social Development and the DG. However, we cannot take any legal action against employers of social service professionals. We do not have the mandate in that regard. Now, coming to the issue to say, when we colleagues, they say in the NPO sector, they've not experienced any salary increment for the past 3 years. And it appears that when the minister was making the regulations in terms of increasing the prescribed fees, as per these regulations, we did not factor the fact that the challenges that the NPO sector is experiencing. That was taken into consideration, colleagues, in terms of the increase. But if you look at these regulations, it has been for almost 3 or 2 years, council not having increasing the annual fees and other prescribed fees. So it's been for some time, colleagues. The challenge is that if we do not increase the prescribed fees, it also affects the operations of council. So if you go for 3 years, 2 years without an increase, it also affects the operation of council. So it is against this background that at a particular point in time, we will have to increase the prescribed fees, including the annual fee. And those who are experiencing challenges to pay the annual fees, colleagues, please do not sit in a corner and not know what to do. Please engage council, and we can see, and a submission can be made to council so that council can make a resolution in terms of how to deal with that particular concession, if there will be a concession. But please do not sit in your corner, colleagues, and not pay the annual fee, because failure to do so, you are going to be subjected to deregistration. So if you are struggling, and for whatever reasons other than those reasons which are provided for in the regulations, because the law is not static, it keeps on changing because of the material conditions on the ground. So the law might not cover certain areas, and if you strongly feel that in the NPO sector, in particular, those who have not received salary increment for a particular period will not be able to pay the annual fee for a particular financial year, do a submission. We take that submission to council for council to make a resolution. But please do not sit and not make payment because you said, no, we raised this issue in the webinars. Unfortunately, this webinar is just for information sharing and nothing beyond that. Other engagement should take place within the context of a written submission. Thanks, Program Director. Unless if I missed something, I've addressed the issue of Mr. Play. And we commit to say as soon as they submit the list. Now, you know, Mr. Play, and thanks very much, Gauteng, that the annual fee is 500 and also for 250 for people at auxiliary level. So what we will expect from you at this point in time is to submit the list so that finance can do the verification, and we submit it as soon as possible, probably before end of this month, so that you use the October to do your work on your side and effect the necessary payment. Thanks.
Thank you, Acting Registrar. let me identify the hand number 8 so that then we can close the first round of hands. There was a hand by Maki Ramasedi. Maki Ramasedi? It seems as if we have lost Maki. Acting, you said you request the division to assist with a reference for question number 1.
No, the colleagues from Heart of Hope, they've asked us to, for colleagues who are in possession of passports, which
Yes.
reference number are they supposed to use when they make payment? So I want to believe is the colleagues who will be applying for registration for the first time. So because if you are already on our system, you will use your registration number. So for those who register for the first time, which reference number are they supposed to use? Because others are supposed to use the 16 plus the first 5 digits of their ID numbers. So for colleagues who are coming from the outside South African, which reference number are they supposed to use? Are they supposed to, because their ID number is different from the one for South Africa? Thanks.
Thank you, Acting Registrar. The response to that is that with the new online system, the new registrants that are entering the register for the first time, the system generates a reference number automatically as and when the person has been approved. But with the other applications, we generate the reference number that is communicated to the registrant, and the registration number will start with the number 60, followed by the 5 digits of the person's date of birth. We do not utilize the passport number. We utilize the date of birth in capturing and giving a registrant the reference number that he can use to communicate with us pending the finalization of the person's application. Thank you. Acting Registrar?
Yeah, I'm done with the questions that I was supposed to attend to, unless if there are other questions.
Yes, that's where we were coming now to say we are not seeing any hands unless we are missing somebody. Maki Ramasedi had her hand up. Maki, if you're still here, you are allowed to present your question. If not, I'm seeing a hand by Kaugelo, and I'm not too sure whether it's a historical hand or it's a new hand.
Yeah. It's a new hand. It's a new hand, Chair.
Okay,
yes,
you can
Chair.
then
Thank
go
you, Chair.
ahead.
Chair, I wanted to check before the session to say just clarity on the role of the council, because I'm worried. I was just looking on the presentation. It seems as if the council is more on issues of ensuring that we comply, but when it comes to employers, they seem to be lenient because there's less monitoring and evaluation when it comes to employer compliance with the norms and standards of the council. You see, so it seems as if currently the council is more on monitoring us when we do wrong things, but on the other side, when it comes to the employer, there seems to be no activity. I want to applaud this platform because this platform will actually, if you are to create this platform for employers so that they get to be aware of the challenges that we are coming through. Because at some point when you raise these challenges, you get victimized with challenges when it comes to ensuring that the employer comply with the norms and standards. So I can guarantee you or say to colleagues that most of the employers, especially public institutions, the NGOs that are doing their best, public institutions, there's a serious problem when it comes to compliance. So I want to understand what is the role of the council when it comes to ensuring that employers comply with the norms and standards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ntata Kaugelo. Can you then lower your hand so that we do not identify it again? Do we have any other hands, colleagues, that we can take? If not, whilst we're waiting for them, there's a hand as well by Kiba Ntwampe. You can go ahead. Sis Kiba.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's still morning. Apologies. I just wanted to find out, is there plans for council to decentralize? Because all of the businesses done in Pretoria, and we will understand that Gauteng is wide, let alone the country. Furthermore, I just wanted to find out, yes, we issue practice cards, which some of us have been calling receipts, but is there a way of permanent identification for social service professionals, something that we can carry as an identification as we do the business of the employee? Thank you.
Thank you, Sis Kiba. Acting.
Thanks, Program Director. The concern that the council seems to be enforcing compliance as far as social service professionals are concerned. However, we are lenient on the employer who majority are, or most, or some are not complying with the norms and standards. Now, here is the issue, colleagues. The Social Service Professions Act only makes provision for us to regulate the profession and the professionals. It does not make provision for us to regulate employers and hold employers accountable. That is the gap in the legislation, and part of the processes involved in the amendment or the repealing of the current Social Service Professions Act is to cover that particular area. So employer, they do not have an obligations toward the SACSSP, if I were to put it that way. It's only social service professionals who have an obligation to a particular statutory body. However, in the absence or the gap in the legislation, we do engage employers as and when we get queries from social service professionals where employers are not keeping up in terms of ensuring that social service professionals, they can perform their duties in a professional manner. And this also includes the issue of the provision of the tools of trade and so forth. So we do engage employers as and when we do get queries from either members of the public or social service professionals who are affected. So it's just a matter of engagement, colleagues. We don't have an authority to hold employers accountable and also institute legal action against employers, because the law does not make provision for that, and we identify that issue as a gap. The only provision that we can use against the employers is against employers, and in this case, individuals, people who are responsible for employing people who are not registered with council. It's only that provision which we read. I think it was on slide, which was the chairperson of the professional board spoke to earlier on, which is part of the consequences. Yes, this is the only part within our laws that we can use to hold employers accountable for employing people who are not registered. Other issues, colleagues, the law does not provide that. But however, if you do a written submission to us that you are experiencing challenges with employer X, we will engage that employer. Most of the employers, we know they are responsible, they are accountable. We do engage them, and where we are struggling, we engage them through the National Department of Social Development, because provinces are also accountable to some extent to the National Department of Social Development, and those who are in the NPO sector, they are also called, by virtue of them having signed service level agreement with the Department of Social Development, they are also accountable. So that's how far we can go until such time that the Social Service Professions Act is repealed and the new Social Service Practitioners Act, which we propose that it must make provision for employers of social service professionals to be held accountable until that law is in place. Now, is there a plan to decentralize services? It is our wish in Megeva to do that. And that can only happen as soon as if you go to section 12, subsection 1, paragraph C, let me just confirm here. Paragraph C, it makes provision for the funds of council to consist of: 1, the monies received by the council. This includes the prescribed fees. B, the funds imposed and recovered in terms of the Act, and the money appropriated by Parliament for achieving the objects of council. And D, the money obtained by way of loans, which is not advisable, and any money accruing to the council from any other source. Now, the challenge that we are experiencing now is that the main source of revenue for council is the prescribed fees paid by social service professionals in terms of section 12, subsection 1, paragraph A, in terms of annual fees, registration fees. So that's the only money, colleagues, we use for the operations of council. It is a lot in terms of what we need to do on a daily basis. In actual fact, every year we are operating on a deficit, and that's why we need to enforce the payment of the annual fees, because currently we are sitting with over 10 million unpaid annual fees. So we can imagine that if we are sitting with, if that money will be collected, probably we'll try to improve also, not only to decentralize, but also to ensure that we provide quality service to our stakeholders, in particular ourselves as social service professionals and members of the public. However, we are engaging the relevant authorities so that we sort out the issue of section 12, subsection 1, paragraph C, which is the appropriation provision, to ensure that Parliament does what it committed to do, ensure that council is being funded. So we are not funded, colleagues, as we speak right now, by any organization. So we are relying on, you are the ones basically have been carrying this statutory body over your shoulders. Those who are paying their annual fees religiously, so you should be proud of you, because you are the ones who are carrying this statutory body to be live as it is right now. But we believe that if the appropriation clause can be sorted, that we get to be funded like the way the departments are being funded, the way the NPO sectors are being funded, we believe we will go far. For example, go to the National Development Agency offices. They are funded by the National Department of Social Development in terms of the National Development Agency Act. So we don't get that kind of funding, and we deserve it in terms of the law. So the sooner we get those monies, we will improve and go the route of decentralizing. Because if you look at the mandate of the NDA, for example, I'm just giving an example because they are within the social service sector. Their mandate compared to the mandate of council is not that huge, but they do have provincial offices throughout because they are adequately funded. We are not adequately being funded, colleagues, but we believe that matter will be sorted in due course so that we decentralize the office. That matter is non-negotiable. It's what's supposed to happen. Is there any form of permanent identification for SSPs that can be used when they carry out their professional duties? Unfortunately, there can't be a permanent identification. The permanent identification is the registration certificate. However, as the chairperson has indicated earlier on, the certificate is valid subject to the payment of the annual fee, meaning the additional identification or current identification a social service professionals must use as proof that indeed the person is registered and in good standing is the proof of payment of the annual fee. And in the absence of a practice card, then where you are in possession of your practice card for the permanent for that specific year, your identification is the practice card. So in the event there's a delay in terms of us issuing your practice card, you need to use the proof of payment that indeed you have paid. It's just a delay in terms of you being issued with the practice card. Thanks, Comrade Program Director.
Thank you, Chair. We've been tracking and we're seeing that there are no hands raised for the second round, but there is a question. I think you did respond to it that says, in case of the delay by HR, who will be penalized? I think it's coming twice from Komoto. She even further asked it to say they need perhaps maybe is it affirmation that who would be penalized in terms like they need affirmation on processes regarding that. And then there's another one in the chat box from Tanya Perang that says, in relation to specialty, when will we be able to register for specialty in forensic social work? And then the other question is, if one has a master's of child protection as a social worker and would want to register as a specialty, what is the process? From Maina Mkavele. And the other question from her says, how can SACSSP assist the social service professionals with recognition of qualifications related to the profession, like your masters and PhDs? Then the question that we were looking for from Ms. Maki Ramasedi, she's saying she has been captured by Ms. Lindy Molefe from Tembisa Child Welfare about subsidy cuts. Then we've got a question from Sbongile. It's Sbongile Neves. Hi, she's requesting to be sent a presentation. Unfortunately, he had to leave. And then Ms. Kivan Dwampe has also posed a question in the chat, in addition to the one that she raised. Is it possible for SACSSP to institute annual conferences? Then Manini Marua was asking for a presentation as well. Then Tembisa Child Welfare was looking for the presentation. Chifiwa Mukeli presentation as well. And then Gita Zimmerman is asking, hi, 466 was the 2023 membership fee. How come the fee is 265 for 2024? That brings us to the end of questions that are on the chat box. Over to you, Chairperson. While we are tracking the last, we are seeing now that there are other hands as well. Can we then, acting, respond to the chat box questions?
Thank you, Program Director. The first question in relation to specialty in forensic social work as to when can people start to register? Yeah, anyone colleagues who meet the requirements
prescribed fees which are payable by social service professionals can also make provision for the new date of payment.
Miscommunication in relation to the regulations which are in place. So the colleagues can register using the 2017 regulations, which are accessible on our website. So we kindly request that you visit our website. You will find the regulation and the minimum requirements for registration for that specialty. So there was miscommunication in terms of the 2017 regulation versus the draft amendment regulations which were submitted to the department in 2020, which we are still waiting for them to be finalized. So there was miscommunication. Other colleagues, they thought, no, the 2020 regulations are the new regulations. We are still waiting for them before we can register people. So we've since clarified that issue to say colleagues can register using the 2017 regulations, which are accessible on our website. Then question number 2, if one has a master's of child protection as a social worker and you want to register as a specialty, what is the process? You may apply, access our, because currently for specialty, the registration is being done manually. So you will request the application form from registrations division. Then I'll kindly request the program director as the registrations manager to also populate her email address in the chat bar so that the sector can have access to that email and make requests or inquiries in relation to registration matters. So you'll access the application form through through registrations division. How can the SACSSP assist the social service professionals with the recognition of qualifications related to the professions like your masters and PhD? So I'm not sure, colleague, in terms of this one, what do you mean? Maybe just clarifying this question so that we can assist program director unless
take one.
Following that
When
question,
did you eat?
we can just summarize it
What did
for
you
us
eat?
so that we can
Donna, please can you?
respond to it.
That's what you said last
has
night.
captured my questions about subsidy cuts. I kindly be sent the presentation is covered. That will be done. Is it possible for the SACSSP to institute annual conferences? You are correct, Mike, but the professional board for social work, they took a resolution to have the social work conference. So the matter has been submitted to council for consideration. Then announcement will be done in due course as far as the national conference for social workers is concerned. But there was also a view that maybe we should have the social service professionals conference. So a decision will be made in due course as to whether we go per professional category or we do an inclusive national conference. Can the presentation be sent to the welfare team? It will be done. The colleagues are looking for the presentation. That is good. 466 was the 23 membership fee. How come the fee is 265 for 2024? The 466 annual fee for 2023-2024 financial year was for social workers and child and youth care workers at professional level. The 2024-2025 annual fee of 265 is for social auxiliary workers and auxiliary child and youth care workers. Remember, there are two categories, colleagues, and let's not confuse the two. The 500 rand annual fee for 2024-2025 annual fee is for social workers and child and youth care workers at professional level.
And the annual fee for social auxiliary workers and auxiliary child and care workers for 2024-2025 financial year is 265. So let's not confuse the two categories, colleagues. Now, colleagues are looking for presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, Acting. We've identified 3 hands. We will then allow the SSPs to present their concerns or their questions to us. Is Gita Lip, I can't pronounce the surname, but Gita, can you go ahead in presenting your questions?
Hello, and it's Gita Zimmerman Lipschitz. It's a tricky surname. Thank you so much. So I was the person who was asking about what the social workers at professional level is for. And thank you so much, Sir Speaker, for confirming that it's 500 Rand.
Oh, okay. So were you covered then?
I am covered, and I hear that it's 500 Rand for social workers at professional level.
Yes. Thank you then.
Many thanks.
Gita. Can we have Kaugelo Mtetwa?
Okay, thanks, Chair, for coming back. You know, as well as the colleagues are speaking, questions get generated mentally. So I just wanted to check with the council, or what are the plans or the future plans? My question might be, look, it's more maybe labor related, but however, I want to hear what are the future plans of the council in ensuring that they regulate SSP salaries. Why I'm saying this? Because currently things that there's a lot of insult that are posed on SSP professionals in both private and public institutions. Really, it cannot be that a person goes to university to study for social work, and then at the same time someone graduate last week for a matric or a grade 12 come in and the same salary of a social worker. I think we need to look at having some future amendment with regard to prevent that, because the unions that we are currently having in associations are not of assistance to social work professionals, and as a result of that, you find even people, your members or SSPs burning out, and others suffer have health issues of depression and all that. I think it will be very much important for the council to look at finding ways on how they can intervene and assist into social work professionals in addressing this issue, because it's really a burning issue at the current moment, and unions seem to be stagnant, and they are not addressing this matter. So we therefore want to make submissions to the council to say, look at that issue and see how you can address it and arrest it, so that we are able to save the profession, because I think it's both an insult on the professional with the social worker and also the council. You see, we are not really recognized when it comes to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kaugelo. Can we have Tanya Perang? Tanya?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you can you request your colleagues to remain silent or mute them so that they can? There's an echo in your background.
I think maybe it's my earphones as well. Let me see if I try and take out that, if it would help. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify, I made an application on the 2nd of February 2023 for forensic social work specialization and was told that it was not approved as yet. Did I hear correctly that it was set now, that I can actually go now with an application to go and do the registration for speciality?
Yes, you heard correct, Ms. Tanya.
Okay.
I think the acting clarified to say there was a miscommunication from our office And he opened to say regulations that the colleagues or SSPs that are intending or have intentions to apply can apply.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for the confirmation.
Thank you, Ms. Tanya. Can we have Mainam Kavele? Tanya, can you lower your hand? Thank you. Tanya, Mainam Kavele, sorry, my apologies. Mainam Kavele. It seems as if we have lost Maina acting. I do not know whether Maina wanted to clarify her question on qualification, because she asked in the chat box, how can SACSSP assist the social service professionals with recognition of qualifications related to the profession, like your masters and PhDs? And in answering, you requested that she clarify the question so that we can accurately provide an answer. Maina?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and salutations and in order for you to host this very critical event. I have noticed that we've got so many social workers who are holding their PhDs, their master's degrees, and they're still at their, let me say, entry level or your senior level as social workers. And I'm thinking here, our council might be a good space for advocacy. Like the previous speaker have spoken to say, we are not actually escalated in terms of salaries and entry levels and all that. So I was speaking in that regard to say somehow, we should be moving from a space of advocacy in terms of admin only, but also to administer qualifications. Because sometimes if you have a master's degree in social work or a PhD degree in social work, there might be something that comes with that qualification, because we need to enhance even our profession academically. Within the space of social development in NGOs, when you have a master's degree, it means you can be placed or be escalated to another maybe level of a salary recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Maina. Over to you, Acting.
Yeah, thanks, Program Director. Let me start with this one of the recognition of the master's qualification or other post-degree qualification by the employers, and also linking it with the issue, the question raised by the colleague regarding future plans by the council in ensuring that we regulate SSP's salaries. Colleagues, I think now we are gravitating towards a level which I don't think is what we can do. The council's mandate, colleagues, we should act at all material times within the confines of the law. Now, the council can recognize your qualification or your additional qualification and enter that into the register. Remember, I spoke about Regulation 28 in terms of it empowers us to make regulation for the purpose of recognizing your additional qualification in addition to the minimum requirements for you to register. That is where we start and that is where we end. Now, in relation to issues of conditions of service of social service professionals, where you want the employer to recognize your additional qualification for the purpose of the promotion and for the purpose of your conditions of services, including the salaries, colleagues. That is the responsibility of the employees within the context of the Labor Relations Act, and you engage your employers through your trade unions in the bargaining councils if you are working in a government department. That is how it's supposed to be done, colleagues. It is not the responsibility of the SACSSP to engage on issues relating to the conditions of service, colleagues. We are not part of bargaining councils, colleagues. And I want to urge comrades in particular from Gauteng you know where we come from, colleagues, and you know how we've been engaging on this particular issue. Please, where we left off, please carry on and take all these issues that the colleagues are raising now and take them forward in the bargaining councils, colleagues. The issue, the colleague in relation to the issue of us regulating SSP salaries, that, colleagues, I don't see it happen. I nearly said it will never happen, but it will not happen within the context of what a statutory body is all about, vis-a-vis what bargaining councils and collective bargaining forums are concerned, colleagues. That is the provisions of the issues as far as conditions of service are concerned, colleagues, are covered in the Labor Relations Act. Now, you want us now to interfere within the scope and law of other people. It cannot be correct, colleagues, unless until such time that the Labor Relations Act has changed and gives powers to statutory bodies, which are professional bodies, to engage on conditions of service of social service professionals. However, in the background, colleagues, we are playing the advocacy role. That's what we can do. For example, on the issue of the lower salaries of employees, council can institute a study, if I were to put that way. And we did at council at some point during the time of the OSD was introduced. The registrar of the third council, the Miss Vida Smith, may her soul continue to rest in peace, did institute a study around the implications of OSD, and a submission was made to the National Department of Social Development. That is how far council can go. And the same applies to the issue of the recognition of qualifications, post-degree qualification, colleagues. We can go as far as making a submission to the Minister of Social Development. Remember, I said in terms of Section 3, the mandate of council is our responsibility to advise the minister. Now, and advice, it ends at the level of advising. In the minute minister does not take our advice, or the government does not have the means to implement our advices, we don't have recourse, colleagues, to take them on. So we can't fight those stakeholders because the law does not give us the powers to fight beyond the process or the mandate of us advising them. So it's not, I don't want you colleagues to live here with the impression that the mandate of council also include us engaging employers on conditions of service. That is not the mandate of council, but behind the closed doors, we do play the advocacy role to ensure that we do not lose this particular profession. And Tanya, you're correct. You are more than welcome to apply for specialty in forensic social work, and the registrations manager will do that, and they process your application. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, Acting Registrar. And thank you, participants or SSPs of Gauteng Province for attending this webinar. We are moving to, I think we have exhausted all our questions, because now, Acting Registrar, we can see there are no comments or questions on the chat box. We are also seeing that there are no hands raised. Gita, we are affording you this opportunity.
Thank you so much. I'd like to confirm that I can pay my annual membership fee by EFT as usual.
Acting?
That is correct.
Okay.
And the colleague will use her registration number as the reference number.
Right.
Have you got that? Have you captured that, Gita?
Yes, I have. Thank you so much for this very informative session.
So I thought program director that she says she's going to pay today.
I also wanted to say, no, you can continue. I will await the proof of payment. But nonetheless, colleagues, SSPs of Gauteng Province, we are appreciative of your attendance and your perseverance up until this time, because the session was scheduled from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We are now moving to the agenda item. I think before I acknowledge Ms. Gita's question, I was saying we are now moving to the issue of presentation of resolutions and way forward, as we have depicted them or picked them from the engagements of your questions and answers by the acting director. Of course, we are seeing now that we've exhausted this aspect on the program. So, colleagues, these are our way forward that we have managed to populate. These way forwards are coming from the Gauteng SSPs. Each and every province, we are gathering way forwards, and their way forwards are different SSPs. It will assist us in moving council forward, and also, yes, acting registrar.
No, I was waiting for you to finish just for us to. There's a colleague who just posted a question in the chat bar, but I'll wait for you, Program Director.
In the chat box, we need to, let me check it quickly. Oh, okay. I think then we need to address that acting registrar, because if we move, we would be moving to the way forward as presented by Gauteng province. Let me allow you then to respond to that. The question is for other colleagues: what is the position of the SACSSP on the fact that social workers are now leaving the country to the UK? Acting registrar.
Thanks, Chair. And it's Mayor Busimbuli. So, Mayor Busimbuli, how are you? The view of council, the issue of colleagues leaving the country is both positive and negative colleagues. The positive part is that it's an indication that we produce quality social workers. That is the first part. But the concerning part is that we are losing good social workers to other countries. But there are various reasons why people are leaving the country to go and work abroad. And one of the reasons is individual decision, personal preference. A person wants to leave the country, either because of family commitment, the other people are living out in that particular country and they want to continue, or others, they always had the interest to say, as soon as we complete our qualification, that is where we want to go and trade our skills or our labor and so forth. But the other main reason, which is concerning for us, is because of the issue of unemployment in South Africa, and this cuts across all the sectors. It's not only our social service sector; it cuts across all other professionals. So, the part of the challenge there is because our economy is locked, colleagues. It is not allowing the creation of many posts as possible, and that is the responsibility of our government leaders to ensure that they unlock the economy and ensure that we employ as many social service professionals. Because the minute to unlock the economy, it also include the proper allocation of funds which are transferred by the National Treasury to different government departments. So the unfortunate part is that the government, they reallocate or reprioritize in terms of their programs. And one of the programs that always gets to suffer is in relation to social services. But we must admit, colleagues, despite what the NDP, the National Development Plan, is saying we need 55,000 social workers by 2028. When you walk around the country on a daily basis, you will see that we need as many social service professionals as possible. Government and our leaders need to invest in the area as far as the provision of quality of services concerned, because failure to do that, we are going to end up with a society that even we are risking to lose our country to some other issues or foreign elements, because this is what is happening. For example, you look at the number of the the number of adults living on the streets. Some years back, we were grappling with the problem of children living in the streets. And at some point in Gauteng in particular, there was a program that worked very hard to ensure that we reduce the number of children living on the street. But now, as we speak, the numbers have reversed now. We are having huge number of adults living on the street, and the question is, how do they survive on a daily basis? Somehow they are being used for criminal elements and those kind of things for them to be able to survive. So that is one area which I can just make an example of to use to say this one area that we are not paying attention to as the country, and that's another area where we need as more social workers or other social service professionals as possible. So these are the engagement that we take colleagues with the relevant authorities, in particular the Minister of Social Development, and we will continue engaging them until such time that they get to be implemented as per our advice. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Acting. And I hope, comrade, it's my former comrade Pusim Dluli, you've been assisted, you've been answered correctly. So, SSPs, as we were trying to summarize the way forward that is coming from this engagement with the Gauteng province. We are happy that we were able to clarify all the misperceptions that are there about the SACSSP. We have ensured that we provided further and detailed knowledge for SSPs to be in conversant and be on par with the requirements that they need to know and implement on an annual, on a yearly, or on a day-to-day. What we are then saying as our way forward, we are saying from Gauteng, we were able to clarify the council's mandate as number one, to say council is a statutory body. Council does not have the mandate to interfere in issues of conditions of services that might include salary and other issues. We are confirming and we are agreeing in this webinar that it is the responsibility of SSPs and their trade union or associations to tackle the issues that are affecting SSPs in condition of services. We are further clarifying that SACSSP does not have a mandate to form part of bargaining councils. Therefore, its failure to be able to intervene in issues of condition of services. But we are affirming to the sector that we will maintain our role of advocacy. We will advocate issues of qualification. We will also advocate issues where we see fit that are affecting the category. And we are further saying in these issues, as council, we are prepared to make submissions as a way of advising the office of the minister. So we have clarified the perception, and we are emphasizing as well to the SSPs of Gauteng that they should be clarified and be affirmed that council is there to advocate on their behalf. That was a critical one. Coming to the other ones, SACSSP Secretariat is committed to expediting processes within a stipulated time frame. However, this process is dual. It is dependent on both the registrants or the departments and the secretariat, meaning the office of SACSSP. We were addressing the issue of commitment that says, can we have stipulated time frame? So we agreed, we committed as SACSP to say, we will expedite all the requests to us on time. However, we request continuous communications with the affected. The third one, we have emphasized open communication from SSPs with council, where they are affected by issues of bread and butter, salaries. Council is saying they should not keep quiet. They should contact council so that they can engage. And from the engagements, council might submit a submission to council to make a resolution on the issue that is affecting the sector at the particular time. The fourth one, we are saying we have identified a gap in the legislation that limits council to further advance the interest of the profession in terms of discussing number one above. We are affirming to the sector that we can hold employers liable for employing SSPs that are not duly registered with SACSSP because this brings the profession to disrepute. The last one that we've come out, as SACSSP, we are committing to offer improved and a high quality of services after the process of funding has been sorted with relevant stakeholders. And this does not say now in the absence of finalization, we cannot offer quality services. We are striving in our promise to you that says Council is looking forward to be a responsive statutory body that SSPS requires. That then brings us to the end of the way forwards that we've captured and summarized from the Engagements Acting Registrar. And with that said, we will then hand over to Ms. Ida Stradom to do the last part of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director, and hello to everybody, all my colleagues also in Gauteng. It's really good to see such a high number of social service practitioners who've attended today's webinar. I'm really encouraged by your attendance, and thank you for that. I just quickly want to, also related to one of the questions that was asked, just quickly refer to the specialities. There was a question on a certain qualification and whether that person can register. Currently at Council, we have specialities approved in adoption, probation services, forensic and clinical social work services. And then there's in the pipeline and busy to be finalized is for occupational social work, supervision, social work in healthcare and school social work. So when you want to apply for a speciality, please check that your qualification is somewhere fitting into one of these fields of speciality. And you will see in the regulations the scope of practice that's spelled out for that field. So, and the requirements in terms of qualifications. So just make sure that when you apply, your qualification do fit one of the fields of speciality. So just that was just a remark from my side in terms of a question that was asked. But in conclusion, I really trust that the social workers, social auxiliary workers and child and youth care workers who attended this webinar will now have a better understanding of Council, the functioning of Council, the mandate of Council. And I believe there will always be some expectations that Council must do 1, 2, 3, which is not within our mandate. And as indicated, we can talk about those things, but Council need to remain within their mandate. And we can engage with other stakeholders, and we gladly do that when it's necessary to address issues within the profession, but we should always keep to our mandate. Then just finally, I want to, so I trust everybody understand, and if there's any further questions or uncertainties, please feel free to communicate to us. You can communicate to the office. There are some of the email addresses made available. You're also welcome to contact myself or Winnie, who are the leaders in the Professional Board for Social Work. We will gladly attend to it and see where we can assist or direct you where you might get the necessary assistance. Then I just want to thank again everybody for attending and taking the time to be here, and hopefully you really had a positive experience. Then I want to thank Octavia Malombo for being the program director today and properly managing the session. I think she's done it well. Thank you to the acting registrar, Mr. Hita Sekitla, who's really in the hot chair at the moment, being the acting registrar, responding to all the questions, taking responsibility. I think you've done the job well. Thank you, acting registrar. And then to Winnie Muraki, the deputy chairperson of the Professional Board for Social Work, for her presentation and always supporting the professions under our board. So last word, go well, and please let's work on our positive relationship where it's possible. Share the information with your colleagues who were not part of the webinar, even in your workplace, in other organizations, in other provinces. The same message go out to everybody. So thank you very much and go well. Thank you.
Thank you, SSPs. Oh, I'm exhausted.
We appreciate to program director. It's you are just showing to us why you were a secretary at some point. Membuzo, can you save the recording? And for council staff, including the registration secretary, to remain behind.
Thank you, Secretary and Chairperson.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Lucy, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you, Nopala?
No,
Ms.
I'm
Mbuzo, save the
good.
recording. Colleagues, wait a bit. Ms. Mbuzo, let's save the recording.
Yeah. Just hold on, Deputy, before you exit.
Okay. Slalo. Nopala. I'm okay. And how are you, my comrades?
We're quite good.
I'm happy you're sitting on those chairs. I'm hoping
these hot chairs.
Yeah, these hot chairs, but I know you were prepared for them and you will move progressively. So I trust you.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you. We won't disappoint. We will.
I know. That I know.
And we expect your assistance. You know, I want to sector, man. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot needs to be done with sector. Yeah.
Bye, Deputy Chair.
Bye, Chair. Bye, Nopal.
Bye, Deputy.
Mr. Redop, don't disconnect.
I was waiting and wondering, but I won't.
Remain connected so that we plan for tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah. Just see there are still few people who are still in, but I think they are social service professionals.
Yeah.
They understand the principle of confidentiality while they are trying to log on. Thanks everyone for delivering the successful Gauteng webinar. We shared the day one Eastern Cape, the attendance was poor. And it improved yesterday with the Free State, and Gauteng did very well. So we are hoping that tomorrow the attendance will be will be good and surpass today's attendance, we hope. Now, in terms of tomorrow, I don't know how you want us to approach the presentation, whether you do it in full or we also divide it the way we did with the deputy chairperson. So you will guide us in that regard, so that we now, because tomorrow is your turn, then we'll have to look for somebody to assist us with the vote of thanks. So the floor is yours, colleagues, for your reflections and your inputs in relation to tomorrow's preparations. Thanks.
Hitler, I think we can do the presentation again like you've done it today.
Okay.
It's well, then it's not one person doing the whole lengthy presentation. And I want to really commend you for the way that you've responding to the questions. There's, some issues will keep on coming up and people will try to push it, but your vast background, I want to say, is really assisting and helping us to get to acceptable answers to those questions. So thank you for that. But I think we can do more or less the same tomorrow than what we've done today.
Yes. No, thanks. Program Director, your last parting words.
No, 9%. From day one, I kept on saying, let us not amend anything from the presentation. Let's continue with it as it is. We are very much aware that it's highly condensed, but information does not. I'm lacking a better word to put there. So the more information we give to the sector, the advantage will be for us in implementing processes, because now we want to believe that we'll be having clear and understanding SSPs, Maybe it will also start to change their perception and their comments on Facebook about cancer, because now they will be coming from an informed perspective. That's all what I want to say. So we will continue with the program, with the presentations as they are. Thank you.
Correct. I see Mr. Nzama. Mr. Nzama, thanks for attending and also for mobilizing on the ground to ensure that there's a maximum participation or attendance from Gauteng. Any parting words? Mr. Nzama? While Mr. Nzama is trying to unmute, Membuzo?
Chair, it was a great day. I mean, if people can avail themselves, in different provinces, like the way Gauteng has done, but also from experience, Gauteng, I think they are organized, more organized than the other provinces. And it's, and I would, appreciate if other provinces as well would learn, the best practice from Gauteng. They're always available. Everything that we as council, we put on their tables, they always, appreciate and assist us. So it was really a great turnout from Gauteng. And we also thank the chairperson of the board and Mr. Nzama also for mobilizing, getting everyone, especially those who are also at the HR department, to be here. So it's really appreciated that they managed to turn out the webinar into a successful one like it was today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Siale. Mr. IT. Mr. Nzama? Yes. No, thanks. Mr. Nzama, are you still there? And the registration secretary, I hope that you have captured all the questions so that at some point we do the written questions and answer to them, so that at some point we get to populate them on the website for the benefit of those who could not attend the session. Mr. Nzama, I see also Mr. Alfred Harris, member of the council, is also in our midst. Mr. Harris, your parting words, and also Mr. Nzama.
Afternoon, colleagues. Thank you very much. I must be honest with you, I actually forgot about the meeting, but hearing what what Lungi is saying, it seems to me it was a very good organized and a very well attended engagement. I was in the one on Monday, and I can see that the field really appreciates us acting registrar. And I hope that this is a way of building better communication and relationships with our registrars. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Council Member. Mr. Nzama, we're about to close now. We wanted to give an opportunity because we can see that you are still connected. If you can hear us, just your last parting words. Then while we're still waiting, Mr. Harris, maybe just for what we have observed in terms of attendance so far is that you'll get more from the department side. So we'll kindly request then through your contact in the department to also mobilize on the NPO sector side, because by virtue of them being scattered around the provinces, because the government departments are more well organized. But we would love to see, as we go forward, see more of the colleagues in the NPO sector attending the session, and also the colleagues in the private practice. So we'll engage SACSSP and other organizations to ensure that they also assist in the mobilization on the ground. But thanks very much for paying attention and for willing to be part of this process until the last day, which is the 29th. Thanks very much. And in those ways, we really appreciate you, colleagues. Enjoy your the last hours of your day before you knock off, and enjoy your evening. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Chair.
Bye.
Bye-bye.